Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Ignored by His Family and Got Godly Powers movie. Before we start, please go support Alessandro Gonzalez 54 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Prologue. Family. What is family? According to the dictionary, a family is defined as a group of people who have a close relationship and live as such. And what is the purpose? It is the family's responsibility to promote the education of their children as well as to teach them good behavior in society. Many books define family in one way, but if we talk about people, they will tell us similar things. There are several people in the world who know the meaning of family: a father, a mother, a brother/sister, who always give their affection, love and sympathy, comfort, trust and support, and many more things. However, there are not many who are that lucky, and one of them is Hyoudou Issei. He is a cheerful, loving, brave, and smiling boy. Long brown hair, honey-colored eyes with golden touches, slightly tanned skin, and always a smile on her face. His father Goro Hyoudou and his mother Miki Hyoudou and his twin sister Naomi Hyoudou, a loving and united family if you can say so. They always showed great joy and love to their children. It's a pity that everything will change. Naomi, being Issei's twin, showed great intelligence and strength at such a young age. She was very talented both academically and physically. Leaving that out, his greatest achievement was awakening the Bostigar at the age of 5, where the Red Emperor known as Drag resides, and the bearer who uses it would earn the name of the Hyoudou. Her parents were stunned. They never imagined that their daughter would possess a sacred artifact, much less one of great power, since they already knew the supernatural world, being known as high-caliber holy magicians. But this would cause misfortune, not for them and their daughter, but for their other son. They saw that their daughter possessed the Welsh dragon and immediately involved her in the supernatural world, where they taught her everything, such as where magic, weapon fights, and other things came from. But this caused little Issei to become careless, as he possessed nothing according to them. Therefore it was better not to involve him in the supernatural world, where they hid the whole truth from him, and also told their daughter Naomi not to tell Issei anything. Naomi being very close to Issei, it hurt her a lot to be separated from Issei due to her training, where her parents gave him classes that caused feelings of loneliness in the little boy. Issei saw that his parents no longer paid attention to him this semester, becoming sad and lonely, but he still tried to get his parents' attention, which is why he was so sad, lowering their grades, getting into trouble, disobeying them. But nothing worked. He only received scoldings and nothing more. With the passing of time, Issei no longer had that smile on his face. His parents left him to pay more attention to his brother, by just taking his sister to many places in the world, and even on occasions Mikey and Goro had left Issei alone, who had never realized that Issei had a natural talent for soccer. Now with Issei he started to become independent from his parents, where he watched several cooking videos and a few more. Issei had already gotten used to not having the affection of his family, and that of his brother, where at the time he was involved in many things. For example, drugs, drunkenness, parties, Asta even got tattoos. But as everyone says, when one door closes, another one opens. For Issei it was like this. Only at a party did he meet the one who would become like his father figure, and his life changed completely, where he also entered the supernatural world. Present. At night I get lost in the shadows to find you in the arms of memory, and I take refuge in the comfort that only crying can give me. They were the words of a brown-haired boy, about 16 years old, with long hair and a ponytail at the back, golden eyes, attractive to the opposite gender, an almost thin body without an upper garment on his torso, showing all his tattoos made only with some metallic violet gloves in addition to a beautiful golden one on them. He found himself outside at this time of the city known as Ko. It was night. The sky was clear, allowing the stars to be seen. The young man just looked at the sky as if he were looking for something important. He just stood there looking at the sky with a bored look, but his eyes reflected melancholy, but he could hide it well. In that sky you can see a silhouette of a woman coming down from the sky with 6 pairs of black wings. When she landed she only bowed a little while she raised her hand in a greeting. "I'm glad to see you again, Issei-kun." This woman was tall, around 25 years old. Her hair was blue and at the tips were white. She had a huge figure and large busts. "How is your night?" was the woman's question. Issei sighed. "She is calm and quiet as always and helps me stay calm," he replied monotonously. "Well, I only extracted the information from Grigori, was the woman's response. Issei, continue, he answered. You see, it seems that Azazel only looks for the sacred gears with the sole objective of investigating them and nothing else, she told him. Issei, I understand, that's good. I want you to continue watching his movements and the other thing? Asked the brown-haired man. It is not at all impossible for me to enter and not call Azazel's attention. I'm sorry, Issei, he apologized. Issei, don't worry, after all it's not easy, said the brown-haired boy with a slight smile. Besides, we'll take everything calmly, he answered him. Thank you, Issei, for being so attentive to me, she said happily. Issei, you are my family and I care about you, the brown-haired boy told him. In that silence invaded the place, but it was not an uncomfortable silence, but on the contrary it was very comfortable for them. For the woman, she was blushing because of the brown-haired man's words and also knowing that the person she fell in love with cared about her. She is willing to kill anyone just for him, since he was the person who gave her a new opportunity. In addition to giving her a purpose to her life, she was also powerful in just 3 years of having known him. Issei, they will appear soon. I have to go. Can I leave you the rest? He asked. Go ahead and don't worry, I'll clean here, and it's dangerous for them to know who you are, he answered. Issei, thank you, he thanked while looking at the woman's face and then smiling where she blushed. At that, the chestnut tree created a magic circle and disappeared from the place. I see you had fun, she said as she turned around and saw a huge pile of mutilated bodies and centripetals scattered around the place. Who am I kidding? This is not a warm-up for him. I find it funny that he offers them to live, but his ego is higher, she said as a magic circle appeared in her hand and she cast a spell, making the corpses disappear. She just stared at the sky and then a small smile appeared on her face. The time is approaching when he makes himself present in the supernatural world. Everything will turn upside down, she said amusedly to spread her wings and fly away into the sky. Chapter 1. You can see an 8-year-old brown-haired boy who was wearing a white shirt, brown shorts, and his long hair was messy. Issei Ooota-san Ooka-san called the brown-haired boy, but no one answered. Hello, is there anyone? Wani-chan Ooka-san. He called again, but no one answered. It seems there is no one again, the brown-haired boy said sadly to himself as he went up the stairs while he dropped a paper on his where there were 4 people in the picture, and it said, My family. Issei, it seems that tonight I'm going to be alone again, he said. Well, it's not the first time, said Issei while he was sitting on his bed while he had a soccer ball in his hand. I'd better go to sleep. Tomorrow will be the final of the championship, he said while he left the ball on the floor and went to bed. I hope that tomorrow Mom comes to watch the games, said the brown-haired boy while he was going to sleep. It was already morning where the little brown-haired boy was sitting at the table having breakfast with milk and cereal. Issei, I'm going to call Mom, he said while finishing his breakfast, and then walking towards the phone. Issei, come on, answer, begged the brown-haired boy. Hi, I'm Mickey Hyoudou. I'm not available right now, so please leave your message. Issei, hi Mom. I wanted to remind you that today is the end of the soccer championship. I wanted to tell you that you could go with Dad and Naomi if you could go today at 1:30 p.m. at the start of the game. Ah, well, that's it, Mom. I'll see you there. I love you, said the brown-haired boy, hanging up his phone sadly. Issei the coaster again. Well, I must cheer up today. I must be good for the final. I'm sure they will go, said the chestnut. Issei, come on, where are they? The brown-haired boy wondered, looking around at the people where he saw several children with their parents, all of them already dressed, where Issei looked sadly. Hey, I see. Change now, said an old man handing the uniform to the brown-haired man, who takes it. Issei, yes coach, he said without enthusiasm while he went to the locker room and had changed. The game had started where the chestnut was sitting on the bench while he saw all the parents of his teammates motivating their children. The game is 0-0, either team could take advantage, and there were 10 minutes left in the game, and a foul was committed, where the coach called Issei to come in. At that moment, the little brown-haired boy took off his sweatshirt and went to the line to then enter the field under the gaze of many of his teammates who encouraged him. At that point, Issei reached the free kick where one of his teammates gave him the ball, and they both exchanged glances. Don't go, Hyoudou, now, a blonde boy with blue eyes said seriously, while the brown-haired boy only nods to place the ball on the ground and take a few steps back. Issei, sigh, come on, you can do it, Issei, the brown-haired man said to himself. While he looked everywhere to see if his parents were there, he realized that there was no one, where Issei only had a melancholic look and then heard the referee's whistle. Then, Castano takes the race towards the ball and then gives a powerful shot to the ball that ended up full at a great speed towards the opponent's goal and then ends in a tremendous goal. At that, all his teammates started shouting like crazy to go hug Issei, who had not shouted the goal while his teammates hugged him. 1440. The game had ended where the chestnut team had emerged victorious, where everyone had celebrated non-stop. Issei watched as his other classmates were hugged by their parents and shared happy moments. Between joy and laughter, Issei looked everywhere to see if he could see his parents. 1510. Issei was crying while they gave him his gold medal as well as the award for best player, but they were not tears of happiness but of anger, where many of his teammates had congratulated him, and many even made fun of him, making the brown-haired boy laugh who, although sad, showed a smile. 3:30 p.m. The party had ended. Issei was walking towards his home without paying attention to anyone. While he still had the trophy in his hands, he then arrived at his house, where the brown-haired man entered and then ran towards his room with his trophy in hand. Already in his room, the brown-haired man slammed the door and then threw himself onto the bed. Issei was the chestnut-colored boy's cry. While he still had his trophy in his hand, the chestnut-colored boy stood up and then threw his trophy against the wall, breaking it in half, where Issei simply brought his hands to his eyes to continue crying. End of flash drive. In a somewhat spacious two-story house, but you could see in a room of the house a small purple light that appeared on the floor to reveal a chestnut tree. With a movement of his hands, Chestnut erased all traces of magical energy or signature. He then began to take off his clothes until he was completely naked. Then he went to the bathroom to clean his body and then left to go to his bed to sleep. At that moment, in the living room of the house, another magical glow appeared, where three people appeared, a man of about 30 years old and a woman of the same age, and the last one was a woman of about 16 years old. The latter had a well-developed body and was also very beautiful despite her age. Naomi, yes, we made it. Everything is finally over, she said happily. Mickey, yes, daughter. Everything is over now, you can rest, he said with a slight smile. Goro, she is my daughter, as strong as her father, she said proudly. Naomi, be quiet. My brother is sleeping upstairs. When she finished saying that, the parents lowered their heads in shame and something else. Mickey, go to your bed. You should rest. Tomorrow will be the first day at the academy, he said somewhat sadly. Goro, if you go to sleep, tomorrow will be your first day, he said. At that, Naomi says goodbye and then goes to her room. Already in their rooms. Goro, my daughter is the best. Look at her being able to do high-caliber magic spells. It's incredible, he said proudly. Mickey, I am also happy for our daughter, but at that the man noticed his wife's look that reflected sadness and regret. He already knew it was. Goro, I know we weren't good parents with Issei, but we can fix it now. We have time to be with him and support him. Even though he's not a magician like us, I'll always be proud of him, said the melancholic tone. Mickey dear, we weren't even with him for 10 years. Sobbing, we didn't take it into account, and only now I realize all this. I don't even know what my son's favorite food is and if he doesn't have friends, she said while holding her head while crying. What kind of mother am I? My mom taught me that the love for a child is equal. There is no one above the other, she said sadly. Gori, yes, I know, love. I'm also sorry for not being with him. But remember that we did all this to protect him. Besides, you know that his sister is the security, and you know how dangerous it is. Now she is strong and no longer needs training. Now we can be with Issei, he said with a slight smile. Mickey, if you're right, I want to share time with my dear son. I want to do everything a mother does with him. Take him to buy clothes, teach him about girls and many other things, she said. Goro, that's the attitude. Now let's sleep, said the man where he had continued to sleep. But however, Naomi, Issei's sister, heard the entire conversation between her parents. She felt guilty about it. If it weren't for her, her brother would have the love of loving parents and the love of his sister. The training and studies could not let her be with her brother. Time was very limited. Drake, stop being sad, friend. You know it was necessary. Now you have the power to achieve your goal. I tried to cheer her up. Naomi, I know, Drake. I feel sorry for Issei. We always leave them alone, also at a tender age, and I, as his sister, was not there for him, she said sadly. Drake, do you regret being my carrier? I asked. Naomi, no, it's not that, Drake. But if I had the chance to change the past, I would do it, she answered. Drake, no doubt you're a swindler, or are you attracted to your brother? the dragon mocked. At that Naomi blushes. Naomi, shut up Drake, she said, embarrassed. Drake, hee well now just take care of him, besides you know that those Hederitas are in the city, he said seriously. Naomi, yes, I know my parents made a deal with the mouse, but I don't care who it is. I will protect my brother from all danger, she said determinedly. Drake, haha, that's how you talk to a lollipop. Protect what's yours, he said mockingly. Naomi, damn lizard with legs, she said as she went to her room. Chapter 2. The next morning the entire Hyoudou family had gotten up early since it was going to be the first day at the Ko Academy where Issei and Naomi would enter the second year of the academy. But the Ko Academy, most of the men only Ivan to the academy for one purpose, and it was to have a girlfriend. Or the other was to have a harem for the most virgins and perverts of the city. It is one of the most prodigious academies in all of Japan, where the brother duo will also be. At that moment the whole family had gotten up where they had prepared, while Mickey went down to the kitchen to prepare breakfast for the family, but she did it more to get closer to her dear son, but she was pleasantly surprised to see one of her children already awake. Mickey, Issei, what are you doing so awake so early, she asked, while Issei was sitting on a single-seater sofa, drinking a cup of coffee and reading something with his cell phone in his hand. But when he heard the noise, the chestnut tree that they called him looked at the place where they called him. Issei, good morning, he replied. I was just having breakfast, he replied while looking at his cell phone again. Mickey, but son, you should have waited for me to make breakfast, she said, looking at the brown-haired boy. Issei, no problem. I've already had breakfast. Besides, I have to leave early. I have to do something, replied the chestnut with some indifference towards his mother, who noticed it. Mickey, yeah. But son, you better wait until we're ready, so we can have breakfast as a family, she said while smiling, trying to convince the brunette to put away his cell phone and leave the cup empty. Issei, don't worry. Besides, as I told you, I need to do something first before getting to the academy, he answered as he stood up and started to walk. Mickey, but son, she didn't finish because Issei had interrupted her. Issei, you should prepare breakfast for the others. You're going to be late, said the brown-haired boy as he left the house. The mother only saw how Issei left the house, where she felt bad, knowing that her son was self-sufficient for those small things, even though she felt bad seeing how her son spoke to her. Without further ado, she went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast for her family, although she did not notice the brunette's tattoos. Then Naomi and Goro came down from the second floor, and then saw their mother/wife, where they realized that the woman's face reflected sadness. Naomi, mom, where is Issei? She asked. Goro, where is my son? He also asked while looking everywhere. After the questions, she looks down at where she told them what had happened a few minutes before. Goro, I see, but where will he have to go? He asked. Mickey, I don't know. Besides, he does things himself, she said sadly. Goro, well, he's already grown up, and it's normal for him to make his own breakfast, he said, trying to motivate his wife. Mickey, I'm supposed to prepare breakfast for everyone, she said. Goro, okay, dear, let's have breakfast now, and then we'll get ready to go out. Besides, I'm sure Issei will be there when we arrive, he said. Mickey, you're right, she answered, a little composed. At that moment the whole family was sitting down to have breakfast, but Naomi was wondering what her brother was doing. She hoped he wasn't in a romantic relationship. The chestnut tree was sitting in a square while he was holding his cell phone. At that moment they heard a footstep that was approaching the chestnut tree. Then two people sat down, one next to the chestnut tree and the other was standing. Hello, Issei/Hyoudou, said two voices. One was female and the other was male. At that, the brown-haired man raises his gaze to see in front of him a man with white hair, who also has a kind of scar on his star-shaped eye, as well as having light blue eyes and a ponytail. The other was a beautiful brown-haired woman with green eyes and a beautiful body and a white coat. Issei, Alan, and Chisato, how have you been? Greeted the brown-haired boy calmly. Chisato, better than before, Issei, he answered. Alan, your city is certainly very beautiful, he said while he had his hands in his pocket. Issei, tell me why you are here, and now that I think about it, why is Chisato here too? I asked. Alan, sigh. Well, you'll see what happened. Upon arriving at the academy, the Hyoudou family was surprised by how many students there were, but clearly more women than men. Naomi began to look towards everyone, but it was easy thanks to her dragon's sense of smell to find him. Then she started walking towards where her brother was. When she found him, he was lying under the shade of a tree. She approached to talk to him, but then she saw her brother's arm, and what she saw stopped her for a few minutes before she spoke to him. Naomi, Issei, mom and dad are waiting for us at the entrance of the gym, she told him. At that the chestnut opens his eyes, then sighs and stands up. Naomi, I heard Issei say. What's on your arm? She pointed at him. At that the brown-haired man sees his more specific arm, the left one. At that the brown-haired man rolls up the sleeve of his uniform to show his sister the tattoo. Issei, they are my tattoos. I have had them since I was 14, he answered simply. Naomi B, but why did you do that? She asked, looking at her brother, who shrugged his shoulders to adjust his sleeves again. Issei, why, if there is nothing more than that, was the answer while he started to walk. Naomi just looked at her brother, even though she didn't admit it out loud. Her twin was attractive. This bothered her since her brother was getting looks from all the females. And that bothered her. Already in the gym, everyone sat in their places, said by a blue-haired girl and a white-haired girl. They were both in the middle of the whole place while their parents were behind watching everything. At that point, several teachers went up on stage, among which stood out a brunette with glasses and green eyes, as well as a black-haired woman with brown eyes, and the last one was a redhead with short hair. At that point, an adult man stood next to the microphone. Director, well, first of all, welcome back from the Co-Academy. In that, how do you explain the director where he told each student that they should strive to be better in the future and that the academy would help them? You know the type, V. At that the director sat down where a brunette with glasses and violet eyes stood in front of the microphone, and then she introduced herself as Sona Shirtorai, the student council president. Sona, well, I also inform you that there are new teachers today. Then she steps aside where a woman with dark brown hair and brown eyes appears. It's a pleasure. I'm Suki and I'll be your new history teacher, said the now known as Suki in a serious and calm tone. At that moment, a short-haired redhead also stands in front of the microphone. Hello, nice to meet you too. My name is Eriko Takeda and I will be your literature teacher, the redhead introduced herself. In that the last one was a light brown-haired girl with green eyes. Chisato, hello, nice to meet you. I'm Chisato Hasegawa and I'll be the school's new nurse, she introduced herself calmly. That made many men scream with happiness except Issei, who was bored. At that moment, Sona was back in front of the microphone. Sona, well, how do you know this? Every so often, the best student of the first and second cycle with the best grades is announced, where they will read a speech, where the student with the highest score on the exams will have the honor of reading it. Naomi was already preparing to go to the front and read her entire academic history. She always had to go through that. It was not something to boast, but she was one of the young people, if not the first with the best academic grades. In the same row there was a blonde boy who was also getting ready to possibly read the speech. Although he knew he would not be able to be among the first three, he still tried hard. Sona, therefore I am calling for the front, she said as she opened an envelope and began to read it. Silence was what reigned. Sona knew that her friend had helped her night study to get a higher score, but the truth was different. When she was surprised by the name on the letter, after a few seconds she left. Sona, Hyoudou, Issei, please can you come in, she said. Silence was the only thing that reigned in the place. Then everyone saw a brown-haired man with yellow eyes and long hair with a ponytail behind him, walking towards the front of the stage. All the girls had blushed because of how handsome the brown-haired boy was, although he didn't interest them in the least. Naomi was totally surprised that her brother came out first. Although she knew he was smart, he never cared to show it, although she was still happy for her brother. At that point, the brunette, already on stage, Sona couldn't help but look Issei straight in the eyes, where she blushed. At that point, the brunette took the microphone. Issei, nice to meet you. My name is Hyoudou Issei. Chapter 3. You could see a 14-year-old Issei with medium long hair. In addition to his room, there were faria boxes on the floor. On his nightstand, there was a kind of tube with a kind of spout at the bottom. At that, Chestnut starts rubbing his eyes, then stands up and starts walking like this to the door to open it where he is standing, goes down the stairs and then goes to the kitchen where he sees a small note. Note, hello Issei, if you read this. Chestnut didn't finish reading the note because he had crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. Issei, as if I cared if he came out, said Chestnut to open the refrigerator and take some eggs, also putting it on the table where he closed the refrigerator door to go to the kitchen and prepare some scrambled eggs. At that point the brown-haired man ends up preparing a ball to sit on the chair and take control of where he is, puts something to look at, where he finds Dragon Ball Z, where he leaves it, and starts looking at it. Minutes passed and the brown-haired boy finished eating and then put on his school uniform and started walking towards his school. On the way, the chestnut tree looked at how the children were going happily with their parents, where the chestnut tree makes a face of disgust. Issei, lucky fools, thought the brown-haired boy who had arrived at school to enter and go to the line where everyone had sung the hino. Several hours had passed where the brown-haired boy was simply playing with his things, drawing pictures and playing tic-tac-toe with some of his classmates without the teacher seeing him. At that, the bell rang where Issei is the first in line to then go to his home. When he arrives home like this, he goes in and then goes directly to his room. Wherever he is, he locks himself in his room and then goes to his bed. Wherever he is, he lays down. But before he could close his eyes, someone knocks on the chestnut tree's door, who reluctantly goes down to open the door, where he sees two boys of his same age. Issei, what do Brian and Johnny want? Asked the brown-haired man, looking at his two friends. Brian was a boy with brown skin, black eyes, black hair, and lip piercings. Johnny was a little taller, lighter-skinned, had a tattoo of a rose on his hand, and had several earrings in his left ear. Brian, Issei, we wanted to ask you if you're going to the party today? He asked, while the brown-haired boy just looked at them and then sighed. Issei, if I'll go, at what time? Answered the chestnut. Johnny, at 9:30 p.m. it starts. We'll pick you up, and hey, take something in case things get hectic, he warned. While the brown-haired boy just nodded. Classes had started at the Co-Academy only after 2 months, but nevertheless there were one or another incident. The Hyoudou brothers became very popular in the academy, either for their attitude and performance. Naomi Hyoudou was an extremely beautiful woman for men according to her opinion. This woman captivated most men with her charismatic personality, where she captivated anyone with her kindness. In addition to being known as one of the smartest new members, she also showed enormous sporting ability. Already in the first month after entering, she joined the Kendo club, where she quickly stood out for her reflexes and strength, a true jewel of a woman. In all this time, she had rejected more than 55 students from higher classes up to the first entry. During all this time, she showed herself to be a natural leader, where she cared about the well-being of her Kendo companions and was also very responsible. But she still had to deal with some demons that were in the school. Although the latter was very fed up with her, she would never join a demonic clan and would never be anyone's lapdog. On the other hand, Issei Hyoudou, in the words of all the girls, was the perfect man, this due to the incredible kindness of the brown-haired man, where he charmed all the women with his smile. He always dressed formally, giving him a touch of elegance. He was extremely intelligent, far surpassing his sister. The teachers were completely interested in the way Issei thought and solved all the answers the teachers gave him. Although he also excelled in sports, and at the same time it was a spectacle for women to see the chestnut's naked torso, where most corpses who looked at the chestnut couldn't help but have a trickle of blood in their nose due to his physique, and at the same time the incredible tattoos that surrounded his entire torso. Without a doubt, the brown-haired boy had joined the football club, where the majority was delighted with his game, where he showed class and elegance when it came to dominating the ball. He was a true spectacle for the majority of football fanatic men. For the Hyoudou family, this was a surprise to see their son's talent. They never thought he had that kind of talent. However, this made the parents curse themselves for being such selfless parents. But what affected him most in the matter of football was his father, since he had never taken his son into account, or even played football once at home, or somewhere else. But they ended up discarding this last thought, since they could try to make up for lost time with their son. However, it didn't work for them. Issei, during these 2 months he never lived with his parents, but they tried to get closer to him and spend time together. The brown-haired boy spent most of his time in his room, or else he was training, or most of the brown-haired boy's answers were easy and simple. Now he didn't have time, or I have things to do, and many more answers. In addition, he grew up being a child without the love of a mother and a father. If he didn't need it as a child, he needs it even less now. Of course he does it involuntarily. He got used to it, not being with his mother, and now he was no longer interested. It's not that he hates her or resents her, it was simply indifference. Even on the twins' birthday, where they both turned 17 years old, where they planned a party for Issei. For a long time they celebrated Naomi's birthday, since they were in training for them it was easy. But Issei had never had a party. They spoke about this with their daughter, who had not refused at all. But there was a small problem, and that was, they didn't know anything about Issei. So they decided to take all of Naomi's tastes, thinking that they would be the same, where the mother prepared miso and a soba soup, and so they were preparing everything, When the time came, it did not go as they expected, since Issei did not even know it was his birthday. For him it was another normal day. It was not something important to him, although he did greet his sister, who was stunned. The parents became desperate and told him to go to dinner, saying that the party was Issei's, where he replied, "Is this food what Naomi likes?" "No, I prefer lasagna, and I'm also allergic," was the simple response from the brown-haired man, which left his parents devastated and his sister with a bad taste in her mouth. They knew nothing. For the parents, they really feel bad for not knowing anything about their son, but I don't know if Ivan will give up that easily. In the school infirmary there was a certain chestnut with a beautiful chestnut talking about trivial matters. "Chisato, I see, so that's what happened," she answered the brown-haired boy, who just nodded his head. At that, Chisato takes a small bandage from where she stands to bandage the brown-haired man's arm. "Chisato, it's strange that you get hurt by something so simple. After all, you are not someone easy to hurt," she said. The chestnut asked her. Issei sighed. "Whatever," he answered. "Have you heard anything from her?" asked the brown-haired man, looking at the woman. "Chisato, there is nothing. We haven't even been able to find her," she answered the brown-haired boy, who only nods. Issei, "Good for now. What about the information about the demons?" he asked, while Chisato sat where she crosses her legs and takes a cup. "Chisato, nothing important yet. From what Penemu and Calawarn told us, Azazel is more than clear when making an alliance with the demons and the angels," she replied. "Issei, I see. And the Cows Brigade said?" and asked the chestnut, while taking Chisato's hands where both of them think to cross their glances. "Chisato, there's nothing. They're still hiding," she replied as she approached the brown-haired boy, and he did the same. Before they could kiss, the door to their living room had been knocked on, and both of them were just a few centimeters away from connecting their lips. "Chisato, I think it would be better to leave it for later," she said to the brown-haired boy, who just nodded. At that, the door will open where there is a blonde boy. This was Kiba Hyoudou, one of the members of the occult club. "Kiba, hello. Is Hyoudou Issei here?" he asked as he entered. At that, the chestnut tree stands up. "Issei, what do you need?" he asked him. "Kiba, I want you to accompany me to the club, please," he asked kindly. The chestnut just nodded and went outside with Kiba to then meet his sister. The three were walking in deep silence. Kiba was nervous because of the look Naomi was giving him, and Issei was already writing on his cell phone when they arrived at their target. The blonde knocked on the door, where a pass was heard from the other side. At that, Issei put away his cell phone and then went inside, where they saw a red-haired woman with a killer body, and the other was a black-haired woman with a vastly large bust and an albino loli sitting on an armchair. On the other side of the desk were two black-haired women with glasses, one of whom had a well-developed and beautiful body, and the other, who didn't have a well-endowed body, was still beautiful. There was also a woman with white hair and a brunette with braids. Naomi knew very well the group that was in front of her. They were the heiresses of the Citri and Gremry clans. "Ryuso Hyoudou, have you arrived with the guests yet?" she asked him. "Kiba, yes, President. Here are the people you sent for," the blonde replied calmly. "Ryus, thank you, Hyoudou. Can you sit down, please?" But she couldn't continue because Naomi got ahead of her. "Naomi, yes, I know who you are, Ryus Gremry. I know you just like the people here present," she said seriously. While Issei looked at all this boring. "Ryus, oh well, this makes things easier. I just want to talk to both of you just like Sona," she said. "Naomi, and what is it?" she asked, although she was already having an idea. "Sona, do you believe in the supernatural?" she asked seriously. "Issei, what does Kaicho mean?" asked the chestnut. Ryus, what Sona is trying to say, but she couldn't finish because Naomi. "Issei, let's go," she ordered the brown-haired man, where he simply sees her, where Naomi takes him by the arm to leave, but in that Naomi feels an enormous current in her whole body. But before asking anything, "Sona, really, Hyoudou-san?" she asked. "Naomi," Issei said, "I will talk to these otaku," she ordered, where she pushed her brother towards the exit and then closed the door. "Naomi, okay, Issei is out now, tell me what the hell do you want?" After those words, everyone had become silent. Issei could be seen walking calmly while he had his hands in his pocket. He already knew that his sister was about to settle a certain matter with the demons. "Issei, he asked me if my sister would tell them who she is," the brown-haired man who was climbing towards the roof said to himself, although he already felt uncomfortable with being watched. "Sigh. Sometimes I think that life is a meaningless shit," said the brown-haired man. At that moment, his cell phone starts to ring. "Issei, hello, yes, have you already found it? Is it there? Interesting, well, prepare the team. I have Chisato and the others. In 2 days we will attack the Association of Magicians." Chapter 4. The atmosphere was heavy, very suffocating for normal people. In front of the demons who were in charge of the Ko-Academy was the current Security, Naomi Hyoudou, a very beautiful, friendly and smiling girl with a passive attitude. Naomi was very passive, she tried to avoid going to violence. You could say she was a pacifist. But currently she was very angry. In all this time she was never so angry. It was very few times that she got angry. But now she touched her most cherished nephew, her most precious brother. Since she was 5 years old, since she trained with her parents when she found out he was the bearer of the red dragon, and this caused her parents to distance themselves from her brother, and their attention went to her. She felt guilty. She did not like to see her brother alone. But because of her training she could not be with him, even though they were very close. With that she set a goal, which was to protect her brother from all threats, where she trained to the point of breaking all her bones. Rias, how about we relax a little, she suggested. Sona, if please let's relax a little, she said. Rias and Sona weren't stupid. They knew that if they fought now they wouldn't be able to hurt her even if they teamed up together. At that Naomi lowered her aura where all the demons relaxed. Rias, well Naomi, could you tell me why you don't want to be part of my nobility? And why your brother doesn't find out about the supernatural, she asked. After Issei had left, Naomi had revealed herself to the demons as the current Security, in addition to being a Dragon King class, as well as Rias and Sona had been surprised. Rias asked her if she wanted to be part of her nobility, but she refused, where she was never going to be anyone's lapdog. But it was when Sona also spoke about her brother, but it was there that the trap had been activated. Naomi, I already told you, Gremory. I don't serve anyone, she said seriously. Rias, tell me, Rias, you don't have to be so formal. But tell me, if I knew about the supernatural, why didn't you come closer, she said and asked. Naomi, my parents had made a deal with your brother Lucifer, but it seems he didn't tell you anything, she said annoyed. Rias, no, my brother didn't tell me anything, she answered. Naomi, this is annoying, she said annoyed. Sona, can I ask you a question, I asked. Naomi, tell her, he answered. Sona, why don't you want your brother to know about the supernatural? As far as I can tell, your whole family knows except Issei, she said curiously. Naomi, that's because Issei doesn't have magic or a sacred gear. It would be too dangerous for him to enter the supernatural world, being very vulnerable. That's why I protect him, she answered seriously. Rias, I see you are quite right. He would be very defenseless, she understood. Sona, yes, you're right, she also said. Rias, I'll have to talk to my brother for not telling me anything about this in addition to the deal he made with your parents, she said. Well, anyway, you and your parents will accompany me to the underworld to resolve this, she said. Naomi, there is nothing to solve. Your brother was to blame for not warning you, serious. Rias, yes, I understand. But what if we all go to avoid misunderstandings, he replied. Naomi, okay, but all of you who are warned, if you try to recruit my brother you will see what I am capable of, she answered seriously. At the end of the conversation, Naomi decided to break the barrier, and then she left the club and went straight to her house. When she arrived, she saw her brother sitting on the couch while he was on his cell phone writing something in addition to having a cup of tea. As always, she liked to see her brother. Since he was a child there was no opportunity to share, but now it is different. The days passed. The day to meet with the demons had arrived, to the dismay of the parents. It was not long before they waited, since they had planned to have a whole weekend to share a moment with the family. Many plans to go out. All this had to be cancelled due to the irresponsibility of the Mao. The matriarch Hyoudou, with all her importance, had to lie again in her son's face that they would leave until Sunday night, although Issei only shrugged his shoulders as if he cared what they meant. And so they departed to the underworld. We can see a chestnut tree kneeling on the edge of a building looking at the beautiful city in the moonlight. At that moment, several silhouettes had appeared behind the brown-haired man who was still looking at the city. Issei, are you all ready? He asked. We are all, said a male voice. Issei, fine, he answered while he turned around and saw the group. There were 5 in total. One was an albino boy with light blue eyes. He had an elegant suit, and his hair was combed to the side. The other was a long-haired black man who had a spear on his shoulder and was wearing a Japanese-style suit. The third figure was a beautiful woman with blue hair and great attributes, as well as being tall. The other was a boy with brown hair and red eyes and had armor covering his entire body except his head. At that point, Chestnut walked straight towards the small group and then stood in front of a girl with orange hair. Issei, show me all the information you got, he said. Yes, leader, he answered. A few seconds passed where Issei began to walk towards the small group, and then they were left behind by Issei. Issei, well, Let the mission begin, he said while a blue aura began to surround the brown-haired boy, and then the whole group disappeared from the place. Underworld Gremory Castle. A group of people could be seen arriving at a huge castle. This was Rias Gremory and her entourage. The Hyoudos were also there. At that the castle door will open where a beautiful silver-haired woman comes out. This was Graphia Lucifuge, the queen and wife of the chestiest Lucifer, and the strongest queen of hell. Graphia welcomed Rias Oju-sama and Hyoudo family. My name is Graphia and I am the servant of the Mao Lucifer. Please play, she said while guiding the Hyoudos. On the way, no one from the Hyoudou family was talking or even speaking. They arrived at an office and then entered while being guided by Graphia. Inside there was a red-haired man about 25 years old with blue eyes. Sir Chess, nice to meet you. I'm Sir Chess Gremory, current Mao Lucifer, he introduced himself with a slight bow. Mickey, it's a pleasure to see you again, Mao Lucifer, serious and respectful. Goro, it's also a pleasure to see you seriously and with respect. Naomi, it's a pleasure to see you again, Mao Lucifer, seriously and with respect. Sir Chess, there's no need to be so formal. Just call us Sir Chess. There's no problem with that, he replied. Naomi, it's okay, Sir Chestano, but I want to get straight to the point and discuss the issue that it seems you didn't comply with in the agreement you had made. Naomi wanted to end all this as quickly as possible to at least be with her brother for a day. However, those words made the Mao get serious. Sir Chest, okay, please take a seat, serious. In the human world, we see a lot of mutilated bodies while there was a man in armor while his left eye was glowing. Behind him there was a group of 5 people. Issei, well, let it begin. I rescued him, he ordered. The group had quickly left the place where only one figure was winged next to him, and this was the albino who had put himself next to the brown-haired man while an armor covered the albino. Where will we go, I asked. Issei, we just have to wait for this to start, he said. Elsewhere, 4 figures were in front of a building entrance. Well, I'll start the party, here you go, south, ordered the orange-haired girl, while she put on a mask. Well, said the one in armor, who began to walk towards the south, while being followed by the one with the spear. You or me, said the blue-haired girl, while she had a mask covering her face. I will do it, said the girl, who in her fists were covered with black fires. I'm fired up, she exclaimed. While she was doing this, she launched several fire attacks at the door, creating a huge explosion, alerting the entire place. At that moment, a small group of magicians appeared surrounding the girls. Wizard, who are you? This place is forbidden, serious and cold. Wizard 2, you have a lot of nerve coming here, arrogance. Hee, really, what the hell are you talking about? This is a place like any other, said the blue-haired girl. Wizard, who are they? Answer, he ordered. It is not necessary to tell you who we are, but they gave you this. I am Kay, said the blue-haired girl. And I am Lise, he replied with a smile. On the south side, the fight had already begun, where the armored man was killing in a very violent way all the magicians in the area, while he was walking calmly while his eye was shining and a strange red energy covered the subject. Magician, who the hell are you? He said, terrified. Wizard 2, keep attacking. No, aha, he couldn't finish speaking because a spear had pierced his chest. Then the wizards attacked, but the spear guy easily dodges them. Wizard called the reinforcements and informed the director, he ordered. While the others nodded, what the hell is going on? In a completely dark place, more specifically in a cell, you could see a figure sitting chained to a chair. The moon was entering the window, allowing the figure to be seen a little more clearly. It had enormous breasts and dark skin, and also had a hood on, only allowing her lips to be seen. At that, the woman opened her eyes to reveal completely blood-red eyes where she only had a smile on her face. Chapter 5. Golden Dawn, the association of magicians where the most talented magicians of the human and supernatural world meet. Apart from also being a school, now it is only a war field. The 4 invaders who had arrived, 2 were women and 2 were men. They 4 were destroying the place, if not they would also kill anyone who fought with them. Inside an office we can see a man with a long beard and hair. Already informed of what is happening, he had already transported himself in a magic circle. When he arrived at the place, he was totally horrified by the total massacre of all his students, friends, etc. With this, he knew he had no time to lose, so he created a barrier to prevent anyone from leaving, as well as also heal the wounded. After finishing his task, he quickly went to the cells. When he arrived, he was relieved since the place was intact. But he still had to be careful and avoid the thing that is locked up from continuing. Who knows what it could do? When he was about to put up a barrier, a voice stopped him. I see you're finally here, director, said a male voice. Hearing the voices, he quickly turned around where he saw an albino boy with a strange armor and a kind of spear in his hand. The other was a boy with long brown hair, but he was wearing a mask and his torso was exposed. Director, who are you and what are you looking for in this place? He ordered. Oh, don't worry, we just came to rescue someone. For the common good, replied the brown-haired man. The man clenches his fists in anger. Director, you say that seriously, as if that justifies the people you killed, he replied. Take it as you wish. A person like you will never understand anything, he replied calmly. Director, understand that. You have killed many young people and adults just to save that thing that is locked away. You have taken the lives of many innocent people, he answered. Innocent, he says? He said, even though you are a wise person, you are very naive. If you think that all those people outside are innocent, you are. The albino boy spoke. Director, what do you mean by that? He asked curiously. The people you claim to be innocent are all corrupt. Many of them killed, raped, stole, destroying the lives of innocent people, the albino replied. Director, that's a lie. All those young people were people who still had to grow up, he defended them. Because you lie. Your eyes clearly say the opposite. It was the brown-haired man who answered him. You don't want to understand, but I see in your eyes that it says the opposite. You knew it, but you refused to admit it. But I will tell you this, before your death they were in the Cows Brigade, the brown-haired man told him seriously. Director, what he said in shock. He knew the goal of that group, and knowing that his acquaintances as friends were with them left a bad taste in his mouth. Director, you're lying, I whisper in a low voice. I gain nothing by lying to you. Now let's get to the main thing, said the chestnut seriously. Director, what are you looking for? Serious. You have the person I'm looking for, plus the information I'm missing, he said seriously. The magician stood on guard where two magic circles appeared from his hands, while the white-haired man stood on guard, but the brown-haired man's voice left him in shock. I want the infinity key, he said seriously. Director, how do you know the existence of that key? Altered. Let's say I know a lot of things, he answered. The man was now upset. Now he was much worse. For him it was impossible for a young person like him to know about the key. He could count on the fingers of one hand the only ones who knew about that key. After all, that key was made by Merlin as well as his book that holds many secrets. The magician increased his power to the maximum. He knew that he could not leave these people alive. They are very dangerous, and even more so if they know that secret. When he was about to attack, the albino man appeared right in front of him to give him a powerful blow to the stomach, causing him to fall to the ground. The magician looked at Riva and saw the albino man who had a kind of spear in his hand. In that moonlight a little quarter saw some chains. At that moment he heard some footsteps and then looked to the side where he saw something that left him in shock. When from the shadows came out a dark-skinned woman with 2 pairs of pointed blood-red eyes and blonde hair. She also had some kind of armor. Director, how, he said devilishly while looking at the woman who is smiling at him. Well, we're wasting time. Let's go down to the basement, he ordered. Underworld Gremory Castle. Sir Chest, I understand and I apologize for my mistake, he apologized. Goro, it wasn't something so serious. But that was what caused all this. Seriously. Mickey, I ask you to have and have more priority in this type of things. Serious. Sir Chest, I understand and don't worry, he replied. At the meeting of the Mao and the Hyoudou family they discussed the mistake that the Crimson Satan made by not warning his sister about the presence of magicians in the city. During the conversation they reached an agreement where Sir Chest would give him support, and they would take them as allies of the demons, as long as Naomi, the current security, helps Rias with her arranged engagement. Rias was happy to know this because she didn't have to marry the heir of the Phoenix clan. Rias knew that Naomi was very strong because of the demonstration of power she made. However, Naomi would participate as a spare part, since the Mao had everything resolved. Rias, I understand. Thanks for the help, he thanked. Naomi, a deal is a deal, she replied. Gore and Naomi tries to get along with Rias. Now we are allies, he reproached her. Naomi but couldn't continue because her mother didn't let her speak. Mickey, you know very well that the one who tried to recruit you was not his brother, she said, throwing a dangerous look at the Mao, who got nervous. Naomi, well, I hope we get along well. Laugh and remember our talk. Serious. Rias, yes, I know and thank you, she said, while both held hands, show her friendship and alliance. Sir Chest, how about you stay for dinner with us, he offered with a smile. Mickey, no thanks, don't worry, she replied. Sir Chest, please, I insist as compensation for what happened, he said again. Goro, okay, we accept, he answered. Naomi reluctantly accepted. She just wanted to go back to be with her brother Issei. Human world. We met 4 people in front of a small pillar where there was a kind of key where there was a powerful barrier. Can you please remove the barrier? The brown-haired man asked the man. Director, I'm not crazy about it, he replied. Sigh, look, old man, I can break the barrier myself, but that also means that this whole school will fall to pieces, he answered while the man clenched his fists. Look at it like that. The faster the better, and your people will stop dying and we will leave faster, said the chestnut. The man without any other option left the barrier. At that the elven woman walks towards the key where the socket is and puts a smile on her face. I already have a piece, said the brown-haired man. Leader, I give the order to retreat, said the albino. If we no longer have anything to do here, then we'll see each other, and thank you for your collaboration. Director, he said goodbye as he began to walk next to the elf and the albino. At that the man begins to sing a chant, and then he casts a powerful spell where a powerless golden dragon was formed that went straight to the three individuals, giving a full blow. The man was breathing heavily since the attack consumed all his magical power, but unfortunately it did not end. In that he sees how the fire suddenly decimates, where the magician sees with amazement, since the albino and the other two were completely healthy. Damn bastard! We spare your life and this is how you pay us back, said the angry elf woman. Then the woman went against the man, grabbing him by the neck, and then she began a huge series of blows, damaging his kidneys, disfiguring his face, and then breaking his legs and bones. Finish it, the brown-haired man ordered seriously. The woman smiles fiercely and then she cuts off the magician's head, killing him instantly. At that moment, when the leader began to walk, some voices had their steps. I'm sorry, but we can't let you guys leave here, said a male voice. Forget about leaving this place, said another voice, clearly furious. At that, Chestnut looked up to see two people where he was alone and smiled under the mask. Tell me, what are you doing here? Asked the brown-haired man. I just came to help a friend, answered one. I was just passing by, the other guy replied. I honestly never expected to see them here, Tobio accused McGregor. Mather, said the brown-haired man, looking at the two individuals. One was a boy with black hair, elegant suit, honey-colored eyes. This was Tobio. The other had white hair and light eyes and only had a jacket showing his physique. This was McGregor. At that moment at the main door there was also a guy with the two girls who had introduced himself as the pawn of Sir Chest Gremory, along with a knight of Sir Chest had also appeared. Cap 6. In a bathtub, a beautiful brunette woman could be seen getting out of the shower and then putting on a green towel, then leaving the bathroom and walking towards her bedroom. Upon arriving at her bedroom, she began to change and then went to the kitchen where she saw a woman with black hair and red eyes, very beautiful for the opposite sex. The woman was sitting drinking a glass of wine. While she was taking a small picture, the brunette woman walked towards the woman and then sat next to her. It's been a year since his death, right? She asked while receiving a nod from the brunette woman. Tell me, is Issei-kun already attacking? She asked. If it has already started, answered the brunette. Tell me something, Penemu? She asked the time known as Penemu. Penemu, tell me, answer. Chisato, do you believe in love? She asks while looking at the photo, where there was a 15-year-old brown-haired boy next to a black-haired man who had an eye patch. Penemu just raises an eyebrow. Penemu, why the question of Eurasia? She answered. Chisato, wow, how many years have passed since they called me by my real name, she said amusedly. England, Association of Magicians, K. So what is a Mao Knight doing here? Asked the most cheeky one with her calm voice, as if she cared that she was in front of Okita. Something that the CDO tells. Okita's appearance. Okita, you don't look tense or anything like that, she said. Liz, it's not like I care, but I must admit that I was surprised that you showed up. Tell me, did they ask for reinforcements? I asked. Okita, you could say yes, he said as he got into a combat stance. It will be entertaining to fight against the strongest knight of the underworld, she said excitedly while creating a sword of light. Okita, you flatter me, but that won't take away the beating I'll give you for all that dirty tricks, he said seriously. Oh, please feel free to try, she said amused. At that, both of them launched themselves at enormous speed and then began to clash their swords. South side. You could see a black-haired man with a spear stabbing a man several times. This was Lucifer's pawn. Both were giving an incredible fight, while the guy in armor was sitting watching the fight sitting on a pile of caves. At that the spear bearer makes a cut to the burned shoulder of the man who dodges another thrust, and then this one hits him from the back, but in the end the black-haired man puts his spear back, covering himself from the attack, while Enku, shit is very strong, he thought. As he turned back on guard, the black-haired man walked relaxedly towards the Sir Chest pawn. I thought it would be quite a challenge, Enku, he said boredly as he got into battle pose. In that, both of them launch themselves again at an enormous speed and then a fight between them begins. In the building, the aura that the subject was giving off was very different. It was neither powerful nor graceful. It was calm, and that was the problem. McGregor knew from his experience that when an opponent was like that, it only meant one thing: danger. He wasn't naive, just like his other companion. The white-haired one was also releasing the same aura of tranquility. He knew well that the people in front of him were totally dangerous. God, these guys had the balls to come and attack one of the most important schools in the supernatural and human world. Tibio was in the same situation when Azazel asked him to bring something important. He never thought he would find himself in all this chaos. When he entered and saw all the bodies of the magicians, he immediately went to look for those responsible for this. While he had met McGregor, and he explained the situation where he was, and he decided to help. After all, Azazel had his people to count on. Right now, he was regretting not having accompanied Lavinia or one of the other girls. Damn, now he was in trouble. This place, apart from being known by everyone, was very dangerous to attack here. Damn, who would attack this place? And to top it off, it was a group of 6 people. They destroyed the entire place. Thinking about it, the calm voice made Tobio and McGregor get into battle stance for any attack. Karna, you would give me the honor of entertaining me, McGregor. I'll take care of our other guest, he said calmly while the albino began to be surrounded by fire and then showed up with a new outfit, leaving both of them surprised. Karna, of course, no problem, he said calmly while looking at the albino. McGregor, what are you planning? Don't you want to face Ami? He said arrogantly to provoke the brown-haired boy. Although it will be fun to fight with you, you have nothing that is worth to me. But the little dog that is with you does, said calmly. At that, Karna walked towards Mao's bishop until he was at a considerable distance. Well, you will fight somewhere else, he said, and then Karna and McGregor had disappeared from the place, leaving Tobio surprised. Whoever jumped back and got into a fighting position. The chestnut looked at the warm man with a surprised face. Don't worry, they just went somewhere else like the elf who was with me, he said calmly, making sure that Tobio didn't notice that the woman wasn't there. Lukewarm. The way you did it, I didn't feel a hint of magic. Seriously. A magician never reveals his secret, he replied, except for that masked bastard who revealed many magic tricks with people. How I hate him. He thought to remember a certain masked subject. Tobio, fine, but it seems that you are underestimating me for being only a human, but I remind you that I can cause you a surprise or two, he said seriously. I know that well, however, he said, and then disappeared and appeared behind Tobio. You will have to do more to surprise me, he said while unsheathing a sword. At that, Tobio turns around and behind him comes a black wolf, where Tobio stands next to it, and then stands up. That black wolf is nothing more than his Sacred Gears avatar, independent one of the 13 Longimuos. Kane's Lycaon is Tobio's life companion. Tobio was nervous looking at the brown-haired man who was looking at him calmly, while behind him a powerful dragon came out behind the brown-haired man. Tobio was thinking only one thing, and that was, who the hell was this guy? Elsewhere, in a quiet place where there was no one, only the wind was blowing, there were 2 people. One was an albino with some kind of armor, and the other was McGregor. McGregor, where are we? I asked. Karna, we are outside the building courtesy of my leader, he replied seriously. McGregor, what kind of magic do you use? He asked again. Karna, I don't have to answer that, he replied. Before McGregor could speak again, Karna had appeared right in front of him, and then hit him with his spear, causing the magician to take a few steps back, before recovering and launching several magical attacks. The albino blocked all attacks with his spear while McGregor attacked, who again dodged Karna's direct attack. At that point below Karna, a magic circle appeared, and then a huge explosion of fire appeared, but at that point, while the fire was fading, he could see a figure in the middle of the fire, something that left McGregor surprised. At that moment the figure became clearer, revealing Karna unharmed, and then we saw how he made a movement with his spear, and then all the fire disappeared in that place. Karna, you know something, you have the look of a proud warrior fighting to protect something, said Karna as he prepared to launch an attack. Here I go, said this one. McGregor, come on, he replied. At that, Karna launched himself at enormous speed at Asia McGregor, who quickly dodged the attack to create several magic spells. Wherever he was, he threw the white-haired man at Asia, who only covered himself where the 2 rings that were on his side covered the albino where the attack hit him full on. At that, Karna appears in the sky where he is, puts his hand up, and then several swords appear in front of McGregor, who had been surprised, and then covers himself with several magic circles. At that, Karna clenched his fists where all the swords went directly towards him, where McGregor had been surprised by the incredible destructive power he had. Karna stared at where McGregor was and then saw in the sky a huge magic circle where a powerful flame of fire went straight towards the albino. "Karna, Brahmastra Kadala," said Karna. While his spear took on a reddish tone, he launched the attack where both attacks collided with each other, creating a huge explosion. McGregor starts walking Asia. Karna, who was on the ground staring at McGregor, with Tobio and the chestnut. The fight between the two was destroying the whole place. During the whole fight, the one known as Slag Dog was the only one attacking, and that was frustrating him too much. While the brown-haired man had to attack with true mastery, without even breaking a sweat, it didn't matter if it was a magical attack or melee. The brown-haired man dodged it very easily, and Jin couldn't catch Tobio's shadow, where the scarlet-faced man always disappeared at enormous speed. "From what I see, you are too slow. This is not fun. It's try us to see you try to hit me," mocked the brown-haired man, who was sitting on a table and his sword was on his shoulder. "Tell me one thing. Does your dog use your magic power to be able to transform into a shadow?" he asked him. "Tobio, Jin belongs to a Longimuo's type sacred gears. Using his power he transforms into a shadow," he replied. "That's interesting." He said something funny. "Tobio, are you just playing with me?" he said, annoyed, while his partner growled. "Bravo, you finally realized now," he said sarcastically while applauding him. "Tobio, you are not a normal person, you are a very dangerous person, and that is why I have to be serious with you," he said furiously. The brown-haired boy just smiled under the mask, while Tobio was covered by a black shadow and heard a chant. "I who celebrate the death of 1,000 goblins, the name submerged in total darkness, the god of imitation that rushes through the polar night. You will disappear because of my black sword. To make something stupid, the creator god of the deformed." When he said the last sentence, his body was covered in darkness, and then part of his torso was revealed, a black armor also covering his mouth. Tobio was already throwing himself at the brown-haired man where he was and opened his little mouth trying to bite him, but the brown-haired man disappeared again where the brown-haired man had his right hand extended, while Tobio received many cuts all over his body, causing him to fall to the ground. At that, Tobio's body gets up again, while the chestnut silk half turns back and begins to walk. "Tobio, let's see how much longer you can hold on, Tobio," he said while he had one hand in his pocket. A small sphere was being created in his hand. Chapter 7. Golden Dawn Entrance. The two fighters, who were fighting, one with a spear and the other with a sword, were exchanging blows, cuts, and without a doubt an incredible fight. Both were fighting at an enormous speed. The spearman made several zigzags, and then with a quick movement he knocked Okita off balance where he looked for the swordsman's blind spot. But the swordsman blocked all the attacks. Okita quickly moves towards his enemy, which the black-haired man blocked with his spear, and both begin to forge. "Okita, you are skillful, a complete waste of talent," he said. "Thanks, but we're just playing," said the woman. The two looked at each other, and one of their hands was on the handle of their swords, and as if they were lightning, both disappeared where both interacted, hitting with their weapons. "Okita impressed," he said, surprised. He laughed. "Okita, too bad it's not enough," he said, while some small scratches appeared on the mask and blood seemed to come out. "Okita, I told you, you're good but not very good," said Okita. "Oh, are you sure?" she replied. At that, Okita opens her eyes in shock when she receives a large cut on her back, destroying her entire upper garment, revealing a huge scar. But then the woman launched herself at Asia Okita with a spear of light to make a tremendous cut across her chest, as well as receiving a Spartan-style kick sending Okita flying. But then the woman appeared right behind him and kicked him in the back. Crack! The bones of Okita's had sounded all over the place where she flew up, while the woman spread her wings and flew up to the sky, where she covered her fists with sacred aura and then gave a great hammer blow, embedding Okita against the ground. Then the woman comes down from heaven to create a sword. "As a sign of respect for you, I will show you one of my skills," she told him. Okita was totally amazed. Perhaps he had more skills. At that moment, several magic circles formed behind the woman, from which several swords began to emerge. "Take this," she said while pointing her sword Asia Okita. At that, all the light swords were directed at Asia Okita, who began to crawl in a desperate movement to avoid receiving the attack. Boom! A huge explosion occurred at the sight. I think I went too far, said the woman as she turned around and started walking, while next to him appeared a woman with orange hair. Idiot, do you want to kill me using that technique of yours? The orange-haired girl told him. "'Kay, sorry, it wasn't my intention, I just got a little excited," said the woman. "Sigh, well, let's go with our leader," she said reluctantly. The woman just nods as they both started walking towards the basement. With the Okita, he was completely injured, you could see some bones sticking out and he could barely breathe. South side, Chow Chow is fighting with the magician with great excitement, while he tried to dodge several stabs from the black-haired man. "We can go now," complained the one in armor. "Chow Chow, or let's go. It's been a while since I fought with strong people who are worth it," the black-haired man answered while walking towards the Enku. "Chow Chow, well, whatever happens, this has to end," he said while he kept his spear in a magic circle while he snapped his fingers. "Chow Chow, come Durandal, the peerless sword," said the black-haired man while a sword appeared in his right hand. "Enku is surprised to see that sword." "Chow Chow, this ends now," said the black-haired man with a dead voice while he made a cut in the air, and then a hole appeared in the area. Enku quickly used his flames and threw them at his enemy's attack in order to stop it, but it was impossible since his enemy's attack evaporated him as if he were nothing. At that, the hole began to drag Enku. While he tried his best not to go against it, it slipped where he fell directly into the portal. Boom! A huge explosion was generated in the place where you can see how Enku flew out of the place. Chow Chow stores his sword in a magic circle and then sighs where his eyes returned to normal. "Come on, we have to go back to our leader," the one in armor said to the black-haired man. At that point they both began to walk inside the building. Schoolyard. McGregor was launching several elemental magic attacks towards Karma, who easily blocked them all with his spear without any problem at all. "McGregor, who is this guy? He seems to be very experienced in magic combat. He is also very skilled in hand-to-hand combat," thought the Bishop of Lucifer. But that was taken advantage of by Karna, who appeared behind him where he is and gives McGregor a powerful blow with his spear, causing him to hit the ground, where McGregor quickly turns around and throws several magic spells at him. But Karna just blocks them easily with his spear and then waits for McGregor to get back on his feet. "McGregor, give up, you have no chance against me. This is my space and I control everything," the magician told him seriously. "Karna, how reckless, do you really think that because we are in your space you have a chance of beating me?" Karna asked seriously. "McGregor, I'm sorry but this ends here," McGregor told him. At that moment, all around the courtyard, several magic circles began to appear, leaving no free space to escape. "McGregor, you give up," but he didn't receive an answer. "It's a shame," said Bishop to Karna. The magical attacks were against him, for a person who was in his situation would be afraid and resign, but the albino not only had a neutral look. At that, McGregor turns around and starts walking towards the building to help Tobio, but he stops suddenly, not hearing that his magical attacks had exploded. And turning around, he is totally shocked by what he saw. All his magical attacks began to disappear from the place, leaving only Karna, who looked at him coldly. He didn't know what had happened, but he noticed Karna, who had his hands closed while you could see that he was holding a necklace in it. "McGregor, how?" he asked incredulously as he stepped back. "Karna, you're a very trusting person, you know? I'll tell you something, I'm the nightmare of magicians," the albino said seriously. When he finished his sentence, he had launched himself towards the magician at an enormous speed, where McGregor quickly created several magic circles and then launched several magic spells towards the albino. But he only raised his hand where he had the necklace, where the necklace began to shine, and then the attacks disappeared from the place. Upon reaching the wizard's face, who had a shocked expression from having just seen his attacks wasted, Karna mercilessly began attacking McGregor with his spear. Ivan stabs towards his belly, legs, arms left several deep wounds on his body while blood began to splash on the spot. McGregor didn't know what was happening. He tried to make magic circles, but they didn't come out. He felt useless now. He was taken by the foot, where Karna started hitting him on the ground again and again by Karna, where then Karna throws him towards the sky. "Karna, witness my power! The immortal sword that even the Rakshasa king succumbs to, takes form. Take this, Brahmastra!" whispered the albino while his right eye was glowing a deep red color, and then he fired a powerful attack at McGregor. The attack had hit McGregor full on, causing him to scream in pain from the intense magical attack he had received from the albino. Then he fell to the ground where McGregor could now be seen with his entire body covered in horrible burns of 4 to 5 degrees of severity. McGregor was breathing very hard while still having one of his eyes open while he looked at the albino who was walking towards him. Karna, I admit that you were a great opponent, but you were too confident and that was why you were defeated in the easiest way, said the albino. Although if I used all my power you would most likely be dead already. Be grateful that I was compassionate, he said while turning around. McGregor could only watch as the albino walked along, while he began to close his eyes little by little and then fainted. Karna, surely the leader will have finished by now, he said as he walked towards the building. Santano. The place was totally silent. You could see Issei completely sitting in a chair while he was looking at all the books lying around. Behind him you could see Tobio in a completely deplorable state. He was completely crucified against the wall of the place. You could see that he had several holes in every part of his body except for his vital organs. Issei turned around to look at Tobio. While a shadow formed on his left arm, the brown-haired man just smiled kindly. Issei turns around again to see his team back. Issei, did they break up? He asked. Group, yes, they answered. We can't go, said the orange-haired girl. Karna, I think it's too soon to say that, was what the albino said. At that the whole group looks behind them to see a group of people very familiar to them. This was Sir Chest Lucifer, Graphia Lucifuge, Azazel Fallen Delos leader, Naomi Hyoudou, Betrayal, Sarah Fall Leviathan, Rudiger Rosencrusts. Issei, we have company, he said monotonously, minutes before. Underworld. In the castle of the Mao Lucifer where the Hyoudou family is, they were talking quietly. Naomi was talking with Rias and her entourage. Since they are allies they should get along better. Everything was calm until Sir Chest receives a message in a magic circle just like Goro. The conversation passed with time where both patriarchs opened their eyes in shock at what they just heard. This did not go unnoticed by the rest. Sir Chest, like he's in danger, shouted the Mao. Goro. What do you mean they attacked the association? Shouted Goro. In the Sir Chest MJS it was the Mao Ajuka Beelzebub who informed his friend and companion about a level 10 threat sent by one of his pieces. And that now means something of life and death. Goro received a message from a magician who had informed him that a group of people had attacked the Magicians Association, and that many were injured and others had already died. Both men finished their conversation. Everyone present looked at them with concern and curiosity to see what was happening. At that point, both men began to tell everyone everything. It must be said that everyone in the place was in complete shock by what they had just heard. Sir Chest quickly ordered a small army to be called and then prepared to leave. Sir Chest, without anyone's consent, he prepared a magic circle to go immediately to help and save his friend, where his wife and Queen Graphia would go with him. Rias wanted to go help her brother, but he told her that it was extremely dangerous. Called more people who would also go immediately, but before Sir Chest got off he was stopped by Naomi, who told him that she would go, that she is the strongest of her family, and that she would help them since many magicians were her friends. Upon reaching an area that was not far from the place, they quickly took flight towards the association where Seraphil had also appeared. It was decided to go with them. Upon arriving at the association they ran into Azazel and a group of his friends. He quickly explained his reason for being there, and that was that he had sent Tobio to look for some books at his request, but he was taking a long time. Where would Lavinia come to look for him? But without having the power of Monstrous, they quickly realized that he was in danger. Now the group was flying towards the place where they felt the power of the group, where they quickly went to see the place where they saw a small group of people, and there they saw Tobio totally crucified and with several holes all over his body. Present. The tension in the place was very noticeable. Without a doubt the newly arrived group was totally pissed off and very angry. Sir Chest ordered several men to look after the wounded as well as help his nobility. The group quickly set fire to the place since a large part of the building was missing. In that Lavinia quickly runs to help Tobio, passing by the side of the group who didn't even bother to stop her. Azazel, seeing the state of his subordinate, clenched his fists tightly while blood was coming out of it. This was noticed by Betrayal. Sir Chest, who are you? Answer, he ordered, but the group didn't bother to respond. Answer, he shouted angrily. Azazel, calm down Sir Chest, don't lose your cool, the fallen man told him seriously. Issei, it seems that there is someone with a posture, said the brown-haired boy while resting his head against his closed fist while looking at the group with boredom. Azazel, believe me, I'm holding back the urge to jump on you and not kill you right now, said the fallen one. Issei, interesting, why don't you do it? Although many told me the same thing and now you see around you how it all ended, the brown-haired man answered very calmly. Azazel, who are you? He asked. Issei, he laughed. Naomi, answer me, damn it, who are they? She shouted angrily. She was very angry to see many dead magicians and even some who were her friends that she knew and learned from them. Calm down, mate, don't do anything rash, the dragon told her. Azazel, what is your objective here? He asked again. Issei, our objective was already fulfilled. But the magicians attacked and attacked so much that you saw that we had to take some measures, he answered so casually. Sir Chest, you say it so casually that you don't care about stealing the lives of hundreds of people? I asked him seriously. Issei, I tried to reason with them but they were so stubborn and arrogant thinking that they could be better than others and I simply annihilated them. He replied calmly. Azazel, tell me why you are so calm, don't you see that you are completely surrounded and that you have no way out? Said the fallen man with a touch of confidence. Issei, you say that because you are the leader of the fallen, because the two Maos are here in addition to having the security of this time and other people who are strong, he answered. Azazel, exactly you just said it, they can't escape, he told him. Issei, sigh, no you don't understand, I knew what was going to happen, I knew every move you would make, this is just a chessboard, you are just the pawns in this game and I am the one who controls you, said the brown-haired boy. At that the group had launched but in a blink of an eye the group had disappeared from the place leaving surprised where the most experienced raised their heads upwards and there was the group. Issei, let me introduce myself properly, I am Abad and Lucifer, the brown-haired boy introduced himself. After saying his name, everyone present opened their eyes wide, having heard his last name, perhaps Lucifer, and this led him to think the worst. Issei, now that you know who we are, I'll give you a little warning, we are not with the Cow's Brigade, he said seriously. And one more thing, your enemies are closer than you yourselves think, the brown-haired man told him. At that point the group disappeared from the place as if nothing had happened. Chapter 8. Human World, somewhere on the continent. The group that was responsible for the attack on the wizard Golden Daw could be seen sitting on some rocks. Issei, the work is already finished, now you can leave. To the place you were, said the brown-haired boy while he took the artifice out of his eyes. As you say, leader, replied the orange-haired girl. Karna, I'm retreating to the castle, to avoid suspicions, replied the albino. Chow chow, I'm also leaving before my group realizes we're not here, replied the black-haired man. I'm going with you, said the one in armor while he took off his helmet and stood next to the black-haired man. And so each of them left the place until the blue-haired girl was left alone. Issei, why didn't you leave to Calawarn? The brown-haired boy asked him. Calawarn, I'm sorry leader but I'll stay with you until you get it, the fallen woman told him. Issei, it wasn't necessary, you can rest easy, the brown-haired boy replied. Calawarn, my clone won't disappear, don't worry, I also want to accompany you, she insisted. Issei, sigh, alright let's go, replied the brown-haired boy resignedly. Then both of them unlearned the place. Golden Daw. All the wounded were treated by the troops of the fallen and demons who had arrived to help. Without a doubt the whole place was a real massacre. In total there were about 156 dead and it is increasing. Sir Chest and Azazel were caring for their friends. Azazel, Lavinia, how is Tobio? He asked. Lavinia, not well Azazel. We have to take him to the Grigori hospital since he is losing a lot of blood even with those holes he had. He has several broken bones. Multiple bruises, she said worriedly while looking at Tobio. Azazel, Barakil takes Jim and take him right away, we're leaving, he ordered seriously. With these orders Barakil went to Tobio's pet wherever he was and was ready to leave. Azazel, Sir Chest, the mentioned one looks at him. I'm leaving now, I'll call you in a few days to settle this matter, he said seriously. Azazel was known for being lazy and irresponsible, but now his gaze said the opposite. Without a doubt, this situation broke him out of that habit. Sir Chest, well in a few days we will contact each other to discuss this, said the redhead seriously while the fallen one left in a magic circle along with his escorts. Sir Chest, Grafia how are you? The Mao's voice was full of concern and helplessness. Grafia, sighing, Okita having many cuts, some destroyed bones in addition to having a broken spine, Enku his body was completely torn apart. multiple serious injuries, he had a stroke and was taken to the hospital. Citri and McGregor are there, but that all of them have several blunt force traumas, broken bones, destroyed ligaments in addition to having 4 to 5 degree burns, in addition to having little magic reserve, and he will not be able to see out of one eye. If he had not been treated immediately he would have died, Grafia informed him with the same tone as you would Sir Chest. Sir Chest was clenching his fists in anger and helplessness. His noble friends and companions were brutally damaged and almost lost their lives. Grafia was just like her king. She is everyone's friend, and seeing her companions in that state infuriated her. Besides, it is useless to know who was responsible since they escaped in front of her nose as if nothing had happened. Naomi was helping the wounded in every way she could. It devastated her to see those who had once been her companions like this, some dead, others wounded, and others dismembered. What kind of person would do this? She would definitely pay whoever is responsible for all this. All night they had focused on healing the wounded and recovering the bodies of the deceased. With Issei, he and his companion had arrived at a temple. After having studied a book they had picked up in the library that he had stolen from the Association of Magicians. Upon entering they found a few traps as well as some guards, but these were easily eliminated without any mercy by the woman. After that both arrived at a kind of room where there was a port that had in the middle a kind of shape of a tilted book. Issei, realizing this, takes a book and places it in the place where the door begins to open wide, showing us a kind of room full of gold coins, expensive people all made of the same material. However, this did not matter to Issei in the slightest. Both advanced until they reached a staircase. At the top there was a kind of purple desk, and in the center there was a kind of gold ring. In the middle it was adorned with a violet gem, and on its sides it had a kind of skull shape, while on its other side it had something written. There is no other name under heaven given to men by which we must be saved. Issei just smiled as the woman looked at him, and realized that the brunette had found what he was looking for. Issei, finally we find another artifact blessed by God, smiled the brown-haired man. The woman who saw the brown-haired boy smile couldn't help but blush. Issei, with this we have 3 of the 7 weapons that were blessed by God, said the brown-haired man. Taking the ring, the brown-haired man placed it on the middle finger of his right hand, where suddenly the ring began to shine intensely, forcing both individuals to cover their eyes, and then the brightness disappeared from the place, and then the blue Polly saw Issei, who was being covered by a golden aura that emitted sacred power. Issei, with this the ring of Solomon belongs to me, said the brown-haired man. In the beginning of the world, when the earth was deserted and submerged in darkness, man lived hidden from the wild beasts that dominated the world at that time. God, seeing his creation defenseless, defended humanity with great impetus. He ordered the seas, the skies, created light so that humans could live in a safer way. However, the creatures of darkness refused to enter the new world, where they decided to recover the world that was once theirs and attack those who were not of their own species. Little by little, man began to disappear from the face of the earth. God saw his children completely massacred. He sent his best warriors, the archangels, to hold back all the monsters' advances. His best warriors were Michael, the head of the heavenly army; Gabriel, the heavenly messenger; Raphael, the protector of travelers, health and courtship; Uriel, the one in charge of the lands and temples of God; Raguel, the one in charge of justice, impartiality and harmony; Sariel, the one in charge of the spirits of men who sin; and finally the archangel Lucifer, the example of beauty and intelligence. They were in charge of making the rogues retreat. God with his power and glory blessed humanity to defend themselves. 7 were the blessings that God gave to man to be able to face the darkness and evil that lived on earth. Even the very gods who tried to have humanity on their own were completely held back by the archangels. In total there were 7 treasures that God gave to humanity. As time went on, those who were worthy to use those weapons continued to fight to bring peace. When that time came, the blessings would go to someone else who was worthy. But, however, over time, man began to boast about power, and evil was born in his hearts. Man no longer sought to protect his brothers and sisters no more. His purpose now was to rule over them and all inferior beings, seeking to be raised to glory and praise. Then the power that was given or to manipulate those who had it was poisoning their minds so that they would forget their mission, and of course the war between themselves, killing each other between the supremacy of the strongest over the weakest. God, seeing his creation completely lost, sent his most reliable children, Michael and Lucifer, to destroy all those who were rotten. This only resulted in the survival of 2 people, Adam and Lilith. With the war sedated, he gave his children the hands to rebuild everything from the beginning. With his blessings, the years passed where many things had happened, such as the first demon, Lilith, the fall of Lucifer, the creation of Eve, etc. Over time, humans prospered again, where some survivors took the blessings and hid them from the world to avoid what had happened again. Time passed and humanity prospered where it spread, creating civilization and kingdoms. But no one knows of the existence of the 7 blessings of God, and with the passing of time, everyone forgot what happened after the death of Adam and Eve. Present. The attack on the Association of Magicians was kept in total secret. Only a group of people knew this. This was done to avoid chaos between their factions. Although Golden Dawn was a group of human magicians, however they were powerful, they possessed spells capable of killing high-class demons and more. Apart from that, their security was first class, and their people who studied and those who taught were all prodigies. After the attack, the school closed its doors for a while to do their cleaning and reorganize what had happened. The attack, known as Abaddon, Lucifer along with his group were wanted by the associations and 2 of 3 factions, the demons and fallen angels, giving it a classification of S due to the danger they represent. He is the first in years who had the balls to attack the association, where not everyone would do it, apart from the fact that they barely knew the faces of 3 individuals, who were able to kill several high-class magicians, just as they were able to defeat the servants of the Mao Lucifer, Sisters of Gremory. This was the reason or reasons that were kept secret about the attack. Want to avoid fear and panic. How will the supernatural beings of each faction react if they find out that a group of people were capable of mocking the maximum security and killing several high-level magicians, more counting ending almost completely with the lives of some members of the strongest entourage of hell, and without forgetting that they gave face to the same leaders and their companions who are positioned within the 50 most powerful beings on the planet, and God was also the Security, and they, not even those responsible, did not hesitate. Without a doubt the concern would spread quickly. Naomi, bearer of the Red Emperor, she helped with what she could, just like her parents. The attack on the Association of Magicians was a hard blow for them, due to the loss of their acquaintances and friends. In addition, as she was helping with this cause, she could not spend time with her brother. She had her moral responsibility, and it was to help people and give support. And with all her heart she had to leave her brother aside. She was furious, not to say pissed off 100% for the loss of her friends, in addition to the time she was reduced to spend with her brother, or how she would enjoy dismembering the person responsible for all of this. She would undoubtedly do it. You could hear the footsteps of some heels as Ivan walked along the street, where a beautiful woman with long black hair had a ponytail and a white kimono, where she is bent in an alley. While she was walking, you could see 2 figures that were leaning against the wall where she was walking, next to 2 subjects. One Hera had long brown hair and had several tattoos all over her body, and the other was an albino who had some kind of star in his eyes. They both saw how the woman passed by them, where they began to follow her, and then stopped at a door where the woman opened it, and they both entered the building. While they were going up the stairs, they looked at each painting, where they entered a room where there were several people present. Among them were Chisato Hasegawa, Suki, Eriko Takeda, and 2 men. One was a black-haired man who was dressed in a military-style uniform while having an eagle on his shoulder. The other was also a black-haired man, but he had several scars on his body, black eyes and yellow pupils. They were all sitting at a circular table where the brown-haired man stands behind Hasegawa, while Alan stands behind the woman who had just come, where a glow covers her to reveal the same dark elf they had saved again. Hasegawa. Well, it seems that we are all, she said seriously, while the rest became the same. As you already know, the supernatural beings already know about Issei's team. Until now we have been anonymous due to a certain circumstance, she said seriously. The rest just nod. What about the weapons blessed by God? Asked the elf. Eriko. So far we have 3 of the 7 weapons blessed by God, the Ring of Solomon, said the redhead, while Issei showed everyone the ring. Suki. The rest of the weapons are stored. It is still impossible to use them since no one is worthy of it except Issei, who is the only one who can carry them, said the brunette seriously. Well, counting on that, one last thing. The seal that contains the beast is weakening, and those who told us are infiltrators. The Chaos Brigade is being led by Ophis Ouroboros. But all this is a farce since the children of Lucifer are conspiring against her, the black-haired man told him. Everyone in the room had fallen silent. Hasegawa. Well, our informants from the Fallen told us that Azazel only wants peace more than anything, the brunette told him seriously. Eriko, now let's go with the next thing, Issei said, calling the attention of the brown-haired man. Issei, yes? He asked. Eriko, tell me, Issei, are you willing to continue with this? Then when I show you the supernatural world there will be no turning back. Whatever you do will be your decision, and it will be accepted without any objection. You have helped us a lot. This is your decision. Seriously, what do you choose, Issei? Do you want to be Issei Hyoudou? Or do you want to continue with our purpose? She told him seriously. The brown-haired boy thought for a moment for a few minutes before answering. Issei, I choose. Cap 9. 2 weeks have passed since the attack. With great effort, they managed to rebuild the place and give the deceased a proper burial. They also offered their condolences to each family. The wounded were slowly healing, and those who had lost a body part were helped. This was undoubtedly the first collaboration for a common good by the fallen angels and demons. However, those who were seriously injured are still in a coma. In all this time, 2 people managed to wake up, Kun and Okita. Upon learning of this, Sir Chest immediately went to see how they were. He was extremely worried about them. Grafia just smiled at them, seeing her husband's concern and her friends safe and sound. But Tobio and McGregor were the ones who weren't awake. They got the worst of it. They would undoubtedly have died if it weren't for the quick actions of the faction teams. Immediately see your companions, and when you arrive and see them while you hug them. Okita and Enku recounted everything that had happened, the people they had faced, their battles and opinions, something that left the Mao very worried. The information was alarming. The existence of a person with this level of power could not be ignored, in addition to the strange techniques they used. The problem was that their opponents were only members and nothing more. They had no influence on him. They told him that McGregor had faced the leader alongside Tobio and that he had to wait for him to wake up to obtain some information, such as his abilities, techniques, race, etc. Human world. Residence Hyoudou 1 month after the attack on the association. We found ourselves in the chestnut tree's room where you could see him exercising, revealing his well-worked body.
1004.1004.1004.1005.1004.1004.1004.1009.1010
was the last thing the brown-haired boy said as he sat on the edge of the bed and breathed a little raggedly, while he took a bottle of water and began to drink it, and then left it next to him wherever he was. He went straight to the shower to take a bath and then prepare food. Several minutes later, we are in the family dining room, where we are currently enjoying Issei's cooking. His mother cut her hand in a strange way, making it difficult for her to do her job as a housewife. As high-level magicians, a cut like this, made by debris when they were helping build the school, was easy to heal with magic. But the problem is that Issei saw her with this, and it would be suspicious if it healed overnight. So, to prevent the Hyoudou matriarch from overexerting herself, he offered to cook for her while she recovered, something her parents and sister objected to. They believed that as a family that was never there for him, she should now pamper him, not the other way around. But in the end, this quickly died because they fell in love with Issei's cooking. Naomi admitted that her brother was a very good cook, and her parents were in love with the seasoning he applied to his dishes. Although her mother felt defeated when she realized that her son could cook for himself, and even better than she could. Goro, your food is certainly very good, praised the father to Issei. Naomi, I agree with father, she is very rich, she also praised. Mickey, even though I feel overwhelmed, depressed. Issei, whatever, just eat, it's bad to lose food, the brown-haired man said without giving much importance to the subject. Naomi, speaking of which, why do you always say that phrase? She asked. When Issei was about to answer, the doorbell rings. Issei, sighing, I'll go, said the brown-haired boy. As he gets up and goes to open the door, he did this because his parents were eating in a strange way. Apparently they weren't paying attention to their surroundings. Naomi knew who it was, her aura said it all. Seconds passed and the one who sat at the table with the Hyoudou family was none other than Rias Gremory. Rias moved in with the Hyoudou family as neighbors. Search bought all the houses that make up the block and around it, in order to build a new, bigger house, and as a thank you to the family, he also made his home bigger. Issei was hypnotized to make him believe that that house always exists next to his, and adding that Rias was his neighbor. Although the mother gets very angry with the mouse because he hypnotizes her son without her consent, but with the help of her husband and daughter she calmed down a bit. All this was happening because of what was happening in the supernatural world. The new group that is wanted by the factions are dangerous, and the redhead, worried about his sister, asked this favor to the family. As they are now allies, he also takes advantage of the situation to increase trust between them. Rias, I must admit it, Issei, your food is delicious. It's even better than the chefs themselves preparing my food, she praised. Issei, it's not that bad. Oh wait, the sauce is ready. Standing up and walking towards the kitchen. Rias, he is a very good cook, he will be a great husband someday, she said this smiling, although this caused three things. Gora's amused gaze, Akane's withering gaze, Mickey Rias's dead gaze as she focused her gaze on the people she now lives with. A nervous laugh escaped. Naomi, Rias, I'll just say one thing, stay away from my brother, I'm clear, she threatened. Mickey, Era Rias-chan, I ask you to please stay away from my dear son, he is not ready for a relationship yet, and us being allies has nothing to do with it, she said with a tender smile. Rias, I only meant it as a compliment, she said nervously. The temperature in the room was rising and Rias's demon instincts were telling her to get out of there. But at that moment, Mickey, so you say that my son is not enough for you, she said while having an aura of death behind her. Naomi, you say that my brother doesn't have what it takes to satisfy you, she said. Now the looks from before changed to ones of anger and fury. Rias didn't know what to do. One wrong word and that's where her life ends. Looking at the patriarch of the family, asking for help, but this was denied when he turned his gaze and as if reading his mind he said, forgive me. She just asked Lucifer for a miracle, and it seemed as if he would listen to her. Issei, yeah, here it is, thanks for waiting, said the brown-haired boy arriving. Issei's arrival changed the previously rough atmosphere to a relaxed one. The sudden change surprised Rias. Previously, mother and daughter unleashed a killer instinct, and now they unleashed love and affection, though this didn't bother her. Issei, noticing the strange atmosphere, decided to ask. Issei, did something happen? He asked. Naomi, nothing little brother, don't worry, he replied. Mickey, oh Issei, what are you carrying there? She asked him. Issei, oh this is for smoked meat. The flavor will be better, Chestnut replied. Rias, are you studying to be a cook, Issei? She asked. Issei, no, I just like cooking. Besides, when I was little, I had a lot of free time, the brunette replied. Hearing these words, his parents and sister felt a pang of grief, especially at the reprimand to their morals. Although Issei didn't say this with any ill intentions, he was simply expressing his childhood experiences. Rias, I see, what would you like to do in the future? She asked again. Issei, I don't know yet, the brown-haired boy replied as he sat down. Rias, ha ha ha, without a doubt you will make her happy with the woman you get, she said. Issei, oh thanks Rias-san, the brown-haired boy thanked him. With that answer, the redhead just smiled and ate again, to avoid the death glares mother and daughter were giving her. But when she tried the food, Rias, Kaoa, this is she said fascinated. Akane, by Gran Gora M. Mickey, look at the puffy. These were the reactions of the family and the demon. All of this was caused by a taste of Issei's food. The aforementioned only saw this with satisfaction and proceeded to put a magazine in his shirt, and it said Yukihira, some part of the underworld. In a place far removed from the realm of demons and fallen angels, a meeting between these races is taking place. The topic of this meeting was to discuss the new group that had appeared. Sir Chest, AAA Azazel, how is your subordinate? He asked. Azazel, sighing, Tobio has already woken up and is recovering, although it will take a long time, he answered. Sir Chest, I see, that's good, he said. Azazel, and your bishop? He asked. Sir Chest, well, he's recovering little by little. Tobio told you about this Abaddon Lucifer, said the redhead seriously. Azazel, his memories are very vague, he only remembers being hit, pierced, but he does remember an elf, he said seriously, leaving the Mao a little confused. Sir Chest, an elf? Could it be the one who was in that destroyed cell? He said. Azazel, possibly, we don't know, but if so, we must be careful. If he's capable of handling magic and spells of that level from one moment to the next, he's dangerous, he said seriously. Sir Chest, I see. Okita told me something you won't like, he said. Azazel, what thing? He asked. Sir Chest, the person you faced is a female fallen angel, he said seriously. Azazel just remained silent and then sighed. Azazel, I'll have to watch everyone, he said with annoyance. Sir Chest, have you managed to find more information about this group? Said and asked the Mao. Azazel, no, this group appeared out of nowhere, and it intrigues me too much, said the fallen one. Sir Chest, you mean his abilities and race, right? Said the Mao. Azazel, from what I see your bishop and other pieces told you about those. Their abilities are rare. It is not magic and sacred gear is a possibility, but I do not know of any that can give those powers, he said while bringing his hand to his chin. Sir Chest, in addition to the fact that this group is made up of humans and a fallen angel, the rest we cannot identify, was what the Mao said. Azazel, I find it incredible that human beings have that level of power. They are surely users of sacred gears. Because magic is not, he said seriously. Sir Chest, besides, according to what we saw from the security camera and what we discovered, the stolen book hid the beyond its enchantment, said the Mao seriously. Azazel, what do you mean by that? He asked curiously. Sir Chest, that this abandoned Lucifer knew a secret hidden in the book. And we don't know what it is, he said seriously. Azazel, this is getting more complicated, he said with annoyance. Sir Chest, Azazel, I want to talk to you about. But he couldn't continue because Azazel interrupted him. Azazel, yes, I know, an alliance between our factions I accept. We can't be alone in this situation. The appearance of the Cow's Brigade and this group is very dangerous. Will they be united? This one said seriously. Sir Chest, I don't know, but there's a chance. We can't be careless, said the Mao. Azazel, one more thing, do we inform the angels about this? He asked. Sir Chest, yes, as far as Michael is concerned, he seeks peace in the same way. With more support, we can face these terrorists, answered the Mao. Azazel, sounds good to me, said Azazel, and so they continued discussing more important matters for the alliance and the meeting with the angels. Human world. Hyoudou residence. It's been 3 months since Rias moved in with the Hyoudou family, and their relationship was going well. She formed a new friendship with Akane. Although their first encounter was awkward at first, over time they got to know each other better and became close. The family now sees her as one of their own. They shared many things in common. With this they decided that Rias would live with them and not as neighbors. Although again to Mickey's annoyance they changed Issei's memory to avoid problems. During this time, Rias noticed that Issei didn't interact much with his family, and this caught his attention, but he didn't get involved. He knew they were family problems, and they had to resolve them as a family. When the school remembered that he wanted to live with them, many of the boys began cursing Issei and trying to bully him, though the latter never came to fruition due to Sona Shirtorai, who was looking after him. During that month, more than 23 students were expelled. At the academy it was normal, although the difference was that Naomi hung out more often with Rias, but she wasn't part of the occult club, to the relief of Keitase and Murayama, although the latter thought that Rias was going for Issei, which made her become more aggressive with the boy, inviting him out, eating together, going for walks, reading the same books as him, etc. She approached him. Her progress was very slow, but at least she was making progress. Naomi didn't take it well. She didn't like other women approaching Issei, jealousy of the older sister or, as they call it, complex, but she finally gave in. She thought her brother would have more friends and that he could experience what it's like to have a partner. This left him with a heavy heart. Since he was a child, Issei was a solitary person and didn't get along with people, which bothered him, so he let Murayama get close to him. One day like any other, it was almost nighttime, and Rias Gremory was now walking to her new home. She wouldn't lie, she enjoyed living with the Hyoudou family. It was always fun, and the loving atmosphere restored her. Besides, she wasn't alone. She had Naomi and the matriarch to discuss topics her friend Akino couldn't handle. Secretly, Rias and Naomi had a thing in common: FPS games. When she first discovered them, she never let them go. She played them secretly, due to their reputation. Who would think that such a refined and classy woman would stoop to playing like a rat or otaku? While there is nothing wrong with this, society is always outraged by things like this. Rias arrived home, went up to her room, and changed into lighter clothes. Only Issei was in the house because the other residents were at a meeting of the Golden Dawn Magi, which she would arrive at night. She walked to the living room where her friend was. Yes, she became friends with Issei. It took her a month to be able to talk openly with him. The boy certainly had very strong defenses. Rias thought her beautiful body and face would be the key to getting this boy to approach her, though to her surprise, it didn't work, and she was also rejected, something that clearly hurt her pride as a woman. Let's be honest, what man doesn't even look at her? God, there's more chance a priest would walk into a strip club than not see her. It took a while, but she succeeded. As she talked about topics she'd already studied, she got the boy to start talking to her. And to her delight and surprise, the boy was looking at her, not at her body, her butt, or her breasts, but at her eyes. Perversion and lust weren't reflected, but rather interest and curiosity, a product of her conversation topics. Rias felt very strange. The boys at school or others always looked at her with lust, something that she realized and bothered her. But as a class woman she must behave, and over time she got used to it. But with Issei it was different. She felt free, relaxed, something she never experienced with a man who was not from her family. She walked into the living room and instead of just entering, she peeked in, and there he was. The boy was sitting reading a book, with a chessboard and a cup of tea in front of him. The atmosphere surrounding him was calming and refined. Very carefully, she took her cell phone and snapped a photo to send to her friend, Sona. It wasn't surprising that her friend had taken an interest in the boy. If she thought about it, Issei had everything Sona was looking for in a partner. Issei, Rias-san, it's rude to take a picture of a person without their consent, the brown-haired man spoke, although his gaze remained on the book. Rias was surprised and laughed. With that she walked to where Issei was and positioned herself on the sofa in front of him. Rias, well since Issei, how did you know he was there? She asked. Issei, advice, if you take a photo, check that the camera pointer is off, said the brown-haired boy. Rias was surprised and quickly looked at her cell phone, and as the brunette said, the red light on the dot was on, which embarrassed her. Rias, Jajaj, I'm sorry, she said in a panic. Issei, if you delete the photo, I will accept your apologies, said the brown-haired boy. Rias, don't be like that, let me have you, she said while puffing her cheeks. Issei, no, he answered. Rias, please, she said. Issei, no, he answered again. Rias, please, she said again. Issei, no response. Rias, please, she pleaded while putting on her puppy eyes. Issei, sighing, it's okay, I apologize. Rias, yes. Raising her hands in victory. I quickly regained my composure. Issei minus 10-year-old girl, mocked. Rias, book eater, she radiantly cost. Issei, pampered, the brown-haired boy counterattacked. Rias, 4 eyes, she said again. Issei, but a Hexian desired one, the brown-haired boy answered with pride and a touch of arrogance while he pointed at his entire body. The answer silenced the room, but after a few seconds the two began to laugh lightly. Rias, and tell me, what do you read? She said. Issei, what are you? He said. Rias, what are you doing? She asked. Issei, what do you care? The brown-haired boy answered with a smile on his lips, something that annoyed Rias. Rias, you'll be closing her eyes, she breathed slowly, trying to relax. Something that worked, but then her gaze fell on the dashboard. Rias, do you play chess? She asked. Issei, yes, I find it an entertaining game, replied the brown-haired boy while taking a pawn piece. Rias, seriously, and why? She asked again. Issei, it's simple, it's one where I break the established laws or logic, answered the brown-haired boy. Rias, how is that? She couldn't help her curiosity. Issei, hee, think about it, was what the brown-haired boy said. Rias, what do you think of a game? She asked. Issei, and why should I accept? Said the brown-haired boy. Rias, the winner makes tea for the other for 1 week, she said. Issei, the one who would win would be you, because you are very bad, mocked the brown-haired boy. Rias, don't play with a woman, Issei, he replied with a vein popping out of his head. Issei, sounds good to me, let's play, replied the brown-haired boy. And so Rias took the black pieces and Issei took the white ones, and so both began to play a game. Oh, somewhere in Ko, a beautiful brunette woman could be seen sitting in a luxurious armchair. While she was waiting for someone important, the door opened and an albino boy entered who had a kind of scar on his eye in the shape of a star. "Chisato, are you a little late, Alan?" she asked Alan, who simply sat in front of the brunette. "Alan, I had some minor issues with some fallen angels, but I have the information you asked for from Calawarn too," said the albino while handing him some documents. Hasegawa took the documents where it is, proceeded to open them and begin reading it. While Alan waits for a response, "Chisato, so the fallen are making artificial sacred gears, huh?" she said. "And what about the war maniac?" she asked. Alan, sigh, "Just like you said, that maniac will attack the church first to steal the fragments of the Excalibur, and he will also attack the territory of the demons in search of causing a war," he replied. Chisato just gave a slight smile as he settled back into the chair while looking up at the ceiling. "Chisato, I think Kokobio will make our job easier with the fourth weapon bathed with God's grace," she said while closing her eyes and thinking about a brown-haired boy. Chapter 10. A very important match was being played on a football field between the Ko Academy and its classic rival. The stopwatch was 39 minutes long and the games were all in anticipation of the match. On the field you could see a long-haired brown-haired man who had the number 8 on his back. The brown-haired man receives a pass to himself. Where he is, he begins a long run towards the rival goal, leaving several players behind, and then Issei raises his head and throws a filtered pass towards the new one who increases his speed, and then he simply pushes the ball towards the rival goal. Golo! It had been heard in the stands while the 9 ran with a huge smile towards Issei, where both of them gave each other a hug just as the rest of the team joined in the celebration. The Ko Academy was winning 1-0. While in the stands were the Chestnut's parents along with the student council and Rias along with Akino. They were all supporting Issei from the stands. At that point, the coach calls Issei, where he gives him some bottles of water. Wherever he is, he begins to give him several instructions. Wherever he is, then drink the water. He returns to the football game, giving him several instructions. Now, everyone from the Ko Academy has changed their formation, which was 1.4.4.2. The rival team had taken out again, where they began to go more on the attack, while in another part Chisato could be seen sitting looking directly at Issei. "Chisato, I still don't understand why he likes to play this game," she said to herself mentally while she watched how the brown-haired boy had made a tunnel to his rival and gives another tunnel to the other player. In that, Issei releases the ball and gives it to the 5, where Issei gets a little more into the rival area, where the 5 takes a play and then gives a pass to Issei, who with his back returns the pass, first eating the back of the opponent, while the 11 ran at a great speed to score the second goal of the match. All the people were shouting with excitement, while the boys from the rival school were upset with themselves for not being able to stop the rival team. In that, the game came to an end where the Ko Academy had won the game, where they began to celebrate on behalf of the Hyoudou family. Was happy to see the game of his son, where they Ivan went to congratulate him, but the brown-haired had left with some of his teammates without saying anything. Of course, this made his parents a little upset. Underworld Castle Gremory. Boom, 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 boom. These are the sounds heard all over the place. This is due to a fight between Naomi and Rias. It's been 3 months since Rias asked Naomi to train her physically to increase her speed, strength, and endurance for combat. Since her conversation with Issei, the redhead has been able to see her mistakes and flaws. After meditating on everything, she decided to train her body as well as her magical power. Although she put the latter aside, since she possessed greater mastery, so she only focused on strengthening her weak side. 500 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, 100 laps around his brother's mansion. This was just Naomi's warm-up though, and Rias was pale. It's a bit of an exaggeration, isn't it? After the warm-up, the real workout began. The exercises I performed were very similar, although they were aimed at improving my body. Jogging, leap, lifting heavy objects, meditation, all this was accomplished. Not to mention that Naomi had placed gravity seals on Rias for greater effectiveness. Said spell was on Rias's limbs, legs, arms, back, hip, thigh, plant, shoulder. Each part had a 10-kilogram weight. Rias, being a demon, had greater stamina than an average human, but that didn't mean she didn't feel the weight of the seals. It made it difficult for her to move, and in the first few days, if she wasn't careful, she would fall over with a small mistake. By Naomi's orders, she would wear the seals all the time, and she was forbidden to remove them. The redhead was about to protest, but she held back. She asked for this. She wants to be stronger, so she must take charge. Student life has certainly become too complicated for the redhead. Training takes its toll, and those were muscle aches and lack of sleep. For the first few weeks, I had to complete Naomi's planned workouts. Even though she was late, I had to do them. Not to mention, it was every day. The pain bothered her a lot, and she struggled to keep up a front at school without attracting attention. She just thanked Satan that winter break was only 2 weeks away. Time passed, and Rias managed to improve in just 1 month, adapting to or at least coping with this burden. At the end of the 30 days, the redhead noticed the changes in her body. She had certainly managed to improve her physical condition. Through meditation, she trained her power control, eventually implanting it in her hands and feet, even if it was only for 10 seconds before collapsing. By the first week of the second month, Rias was surprised by the gift Naomi had given him. It was a familiar, a golden bird that exudes a phoenix-like aura. The demon was undoubtedly angry. This was going too far, but Naomi managed to convince her to use the situation to her advantage. This action by Rias's fiancé clearly constitutes a serious violation of the laws of the underworld regarding women, imposed by the Mao Leviathan. With what had happened, they decided to go to the underworld to train. Of course, this upset Rias and Naomi, for the same reason. Issei, Naomi, for her part, didn't want to leave her brother because she still had to make up for all her precious time with him. And for Rias, she didn't want to leave him alone. Some time ago, and in the present, Murayama, a young woman from Issei's class, began courting the young brunette, much to Rias's dismay. They hung out, ate together, and talked, and it bothered Rias. She knew this woman was in love with Issei, but Rias didn't like the idea of Issei being with another woman. Something she herself was beginning to realize. She wasn't stupid. She knew what these feelings were about, but wasn't it too soon to have fallen in love with him? They only started dating for 4 months. I can't fall in love, can I? Rias literally begged Satan to keep Issei and Murayama from getting together while she was in the underworld. And as if he were still alive, Issei received a scholarship to travel to Rome, Italy, for 2 weeks, the duration of his vacation. Of course, he gladly accepted, but the Hyoudou family didn't like it. They planned the entire winter vacation to be with their son, and with this, all the programming went down the drain. Time passed, and Rias and Naomi trained the same way. Now the female duo hit each other savagely, though for Rias the pain was more noticeable. Just seeing the grimaces of pain on her face was all you could see. Naomi punched Rias hard in the stomach, causing her to hold it. However, this opportunity was not wasted and Naomi hit her with her knee, rising in the air, where then Naomi appeared above her ready to hit her with both arms in the form of a hammer, but Rias used his arms in the form of a cross manages to block the powerful blow. This is because under Rias's feet the ground broke. Rias took Naomi's right arm and with a high kick, hit her in the face and turning in her place connected with a right to her face, and this caused her to fly. At lightning speed, Naomi reappears in front of her to strike her. While she rested for a few seconds, Naomi clearly didn't give them to her. She kicks her in the ribs and the redhead rolls on the ground. When she was on her back, she lands on her stomach. Rias, unable to bear any more pain, simply gives up and holds the spot where she was injured. The devil tried to stand, but failed miserably. In the end, she decided to lie on the ground while she rested. Naomi just walked over to her and sat down next to her. Naomi, how are you? It didn't hit you too hard, right? The dragon asked, worried about her friend, fearing she had gone too far with her strength. Although it wasn't all her, it was enough to knock out a middle-class demon. Rias, calm down, I'll be fine, don't worry, Rias said to ease her friend's guilt. She knew she might feel bad about this. Naomi, you surprised me. I honestly didn't think you'd progress at a steady pace. That's good, so we can keep moving forward. I mentioned the chestnut. Rias, thank you, but this is all because of you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be able to become this strong. Besides, my friends support me and encourage me, Rias said with a smile, remembering how her entourage assisted her and gave her advice. Naomi, that makes me happy. But I have a question. Moving on to a more serious look, I speak to Rias. Rias saw the change in her gaze and became nervous. Naomi only had that look when the topic was very, very important. Rias, tell me, Naomi, what things do you want to talk about? The devil spoke nervously. Naomi was only silent for a few seconds until she sighed and spoke, but her tone was like denial, as if she didn't like the idea. Naomi, when will you make your move on Issei? The brunette dropped the bomb. Saying this, Rias went blank. Make a move on Issei? Naomi, Rias, I'm not blind or stupid. I know how you see my brother. Your eyes give you away. You look at him in a dreamy and longing way. Naomi spoke seriously, and with a hint of sadness. Rias just remained silent. She pondered her friend's words and answered. Rias, I know it's silly, but I'd like to wait. It's only been a few months and I want to be sure, said Rias, looking at the sky. Naomi, fine, but if I were you, I'd better clarify, because you're not the only one who sees Issei that way, and you know what I mean, said Naomi. Rias fell at those words, knowing who he was referring to. Rias, sometimes I hate that Issei is popular with women, the redhead comments and sighs. Naomi, not only Murayama, but also Akino, and even Sona herself, the dragon, spoke with a touch of annoyance. Rias, what? I believe Murayama and Akino, but Sona? At what point? As far as I know, she only wants him for his nobility, Rias spoke, surprised to learn that her childhood friend was interested in the boy. Naomi, remember the photo you took of Issei a few months ago, Naomi said, looking at Rias, who only nodded well. That photo shows her with a dreamy and desirous face. And it's not exactly admiration, Naomi commented to Rias. The aforementioned woman remained silent. She processed the information the brunette gave her. She believed her. After all, she's her friend, and she also talks to Sona about the kendo club and its tournaments, so she sees her daily. Rias was thinking about this matter, and it really is complicated. She knew she was in love, but she wasn't very quick for something like that. Well, after all, Issei always treated her like a woman. But the problem lies with Issei. He's only a human. How would he take it, not including the fact that he doesn't know about the supernatural? He can't just say that he loves him or that he has a harem. It's absurd. To human eyes, that's wrong. She cursed Issei's temper with the others. He was very kind and friendly, and he understood people perfectly. He saw them perfectly, as if he could read their hearts. Take Akino, for example. Her black-haired friend brings with her many problems from the past that are impossible to forget. Rias was the only one who knew them perfectly. After all, she'd known her for years. Naomi only knows superficial things, nothing important. Over time, Akino developed a mask that could be flirtatious, but it kept men away from her. When one tried to flirt, she simply blew him away. Not to mention, she uses this face at school. This has resulted in only a handful of people knowing her. However, Issei somehow penetrated this mask, causing Akino to tell him everything. If it weren't for Naomi and her mother, she would have surely told him about the supernatural world. Issei undoubtedly gave her the right words to help her open up more. But this was only with Issei. One day, Akino changed, and Rias noticed this. She became more expressive, and the smile she gave was genuine. Her attitude with Issei also changed. Before, she was flirtatious and provocative, but now she was shy. When the brunette was near or they were talking, Akino transformed into a different person. And those eyes, yes, those eyes that looked at him with love. And they weren't just any eyes, but deep ones. If Rias were to find a way to connect these women with Issei on a more intimate level, Murayama and Akino would be the main ones. As for Sona, no, since they didn't spend much time together. The demon definitely had competition. Rias, I've rested enough. Let's resume the fight, the redhead spoke. Naomi just laughed at this and said, fine, let's continue. But I'll be tougher compared to before, she said. Rias just snorted at the last thing, and just resigned. You better start, she said. Naomi, you shouldn't have said that, Naomi said with a wild smile. And with that, continuous training. Rome, Italy. In a luxurious apartment, a brown-haired man was slowly getting out of bed due to the brightness of the sun. Where he is, he opens his eyes and sees a brown-haired woman putting on her underwear, and then putting on a robe. While Issei still hadn't taken his eyes off him, The brown-haired woman turned around and had a smile on her face. Chisato, good morning, Issei, she said with a light smile. While Issei smiles, Chisato begins to walk towards Issei where he is and sits on his legs while the brown-haired man takes her by the legs, and then both of them slowly approach Ivan's face to give him a kiss full of love that they had for each other. Chapter 11. We focused on the busy streets of Rome. Anyone who saw it would undoubtedly say it was beautiful, whether it was its history, design, or customs. The good thing about this city was its peace, due to the high level of security, both for police and priests. This city was the headquarters where the best exorcists lived and trained. No demon or supernatural being would dare attack such a place. Well, until now. However, we focused on a cafeteria, in an outdoor stall where there were two people, who apparently were having breakfast. And how is the eggs with bacon, Issei? Said Chisato, who was wearing. She was dressed in a full-body orange dress. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail. She was wearing long brown boots. They are tasty, thanks, Chisato, the brown-haired boy replied while drinking a tea. He was dressed casually. An open shirt showing his bare chest and some blue pants. Something casual. I see, I'm glad to know that. But leaving that subject aside, how are the preparations going? The curious woman asked. Don't worry about that. I'll give you around 220 demons for the job. I speak casually, Issei. Don't you think it's too much? Well, I say it's a lot just for a distraction, the woman responded, surprised and curious. If we want them to leave, we have to be serious. If we don't have much time, they'll only send rookies, replied the brown-haired man. I see. That blessing is certainly a great help, the brunette responded happily. Yes, but it has its limits. But at the end of the day, we'll have another one. I speak calmly. Tell me, how are the others? Asked the brown-haired man. They are calm for now, Issei-kun. Besides, the boys are anxious about what Eris will do today, she said calmly. And I don't blame them, although we won't face them. But against strong people, Issei spoke. I still don't understand. How are there no angels watching over that? I say that something so important shouldn't even be here on earth. I speak thoughtfully to the woman. That's simple. It's because not even the angels know. This took the woman by surprise. Only a handful of people know about the blessings. But no supernatural being knows of their existence, she spoke calmly. That means that, the brunette says, already having an idea of why. Because even angels would succumb to the temptation of having these powers, Issei spoke as he stands up and walks towards the exit with Chisato. Tell me, when will you reveal yourself to the supernatural world? I speak with doubt. The time is not yet the moment. It will come, and when it does, everything will change. I speak seriously, Issei. Many say you are a cruel man, the brunette replied. They all talk only because others tell them, without seeing the truth with their own eyes. Honestly, I'm not interested in what they say, the brown-haired man spoke in a bored manner. The woman just stared at the man at her side. She agreed with him. No one knows him. No one knows the weight he carries on his shoulders. No one knows the sadness he feels. However, he is a kind person in her eyes. The two walked to a certain point in the city. Because they stopped, or rather, the chestnut tree stopped, seeing a man lying on the ground begging for alms. Apparently, he was disabled. The brown-haired man only saw the man, but sadness was evident in his eyes. He felt sorry for the incapacitated man's pain. He looked at him for a few seconds and walked to where the man was. Everyone can say what they want about you, Issei, but you are undoubtedly a kind and merciful person, although for other people you are just a monster. For me you are a savior. These were the woman's thoughts when she saw Issei standing in front of the man. Please, I don't mean to bother you, but could you give me some money so I can take my family? I don't care if it's a lira, anything goes, the man pleaded. Many will say this man may be faking his disability. This is due to the many frauds that have been revealed in various places around the world. This has gotten to the point where people distrust this type of person, and they only look down on him. Many would assume he was a liar, and just a lazy bum who didn't want to work. But Issei was a completely different story. He could feel it, he could see it. The pain, the suffering, the helplessness, the shame, the determination of this man. I knew this guy wasn't lying. He definitely needed help. No, he needed a blessing. Answer something. Do you believe in God? The brown-haired man spoke calmly, missing the man who just looked at him, but answered, Yes, I believe in God, and even if it seems silly, I thank him. The man spoke. Thank you? Why thank you? For this pain you are going through? Issei asked. Although I'm tied to this way of life, I thank God for taking care of my family and my children, the man replied. I'd rather be the one like this than them. The brunette looked into the man's eyes. He wasn't lying, or there was no doubt in his eyes. He just smiled and extended his hand to the man. The old man looked at this in surprise, held his hand, and then looked up at his eyes. The young man in front of him seemed so calm. Just by looking at him, the brunette said, "What are you doing here, if you have faith?" "Give me your hand," Issei said with a smile. The man, upon hearing those words, her eyes widened in surprise. Not because of the words, but because of the way he said them. So calm, full of peace and conviction, and without further ado, the man took her hand. But the moment he did, he felt a current run through his body, giving him a tingle. Then he felt the young man lift them up, but he heard words that shattered him. "I have no silver or gold." It was Issei's voice, which transmits peace and serenity. "But what I have I give you," taking the hand of the strongest man and forcing him to stand. "In the name of Jesus Christ, get up and walk." And at that moment the man who was disabled, who lost his mobility and sensitivity on his legs, he stood up. The man didn't know when, but he was standing. He was surprised. He looked into the brown-haired boy's eyes and then directed his gaze to his legs, then touched them. He started jumping and walking around the brown-haired boy, while tears came out of his eyes. "May God bless you and don't forget what he did for you." And with those words, Issei left the place with the chestnut, leaving the man behind while he cried on the ground and shouted thanks to heaven for sending a saint. The people who were willing to record what happened, but they couldn't because their cell phones exploded. But to the ignorance of Issei and his companion, a blonde woman with blue eyes and a nun's dress, who showed her figure that anyone would desire, witnessed everything. "I must report this to the church." These were his words to leave, but on his face he had a smile from ear to ear. Time skip. It was already nighttime in the city, and all that was heard was the wind. But in a secluded spot where there were some trees, two people, already familiar, were standing. "Whenever you want, we start," the brown-haired woman spoke. "Wait a bit, it's still here," the brown-haired man said. They were already wearing their costumes that represented the group, but the woman's mask was that of a crow. When the two fell silent, the flapping of a person's wings, known as the duo, was heard. "What are you doing here, Calawarner?" The brown-haired man spoke in a calm voice. "I'm sorry, but you know that I will always be with you, no matter what mission it is," the woman said as she descended to the ground. "Oh, but you know that I can take care of him." "Very well," the brunette spoke mockingly, but in the end she said it with flirtation and seduction. "It could be, but I prefer to be me," the blue-haired woman responded with venom in her voice. "Ha ha ha, always so lively." A fourth voice spoke, to which the two girls only sighed and Issei looked at a tree. "Why did you take so long, idiot?" Calawarner spoke with hostility. "Is that true? Have you finished masturbating yet?" The brunette spoke. "Oh sister, don't be like that with me. I don't treat you like that." He spoke with a hurt voice. "Although if we try to talk about secrets, I wouldn't mind telling some of yours." The newcomer spoke with grace. Abel Issei spoke in a calm tone, but it was something that made the man nervous. "I'm sorry, leader, for my bad manners, but I was on a matter that needed my 100% attention." The man spoke quickly with a bow. "From what I see you like dressing like that, don't you?" Issei spoke. "Yes, a gentleman must always be presentable," Abel replied. His attire consisted of a black and white suit. A formal suit with an antique design, this one being from the contemporary era. He wore a reddish-brown tunic and an antique hat with a feather at the side. His right eye bore a unique lens. "Are you ready?" Issei spoke. "Yes," the group responded, then being surrounded by a purple aura and disappearing. Vatican Church. We can see an assembly in which 12 people sat at altars with their respective numbers, but these were in Roman numerals. The 12 men were dressed in white robes and a cap of the same color covering the top of their heads. These people were the 12 priests of the congregation, and their role was to organize and train the exorcists, as well as to ensure that the churches belonging to their branch fulfilled their duties. In front of them was a blonde woman dressed as a nun, who was kneeling. "So you say that a young man gave back the mobility of a man's legs?" As if nothing had happened, a priest spoke in a serious, and at the same time curious manner. "That is correct, Your Grace," the woman responded. "Tell me, Griselda, what is this young man like?" Another shepherd spoke. He was a young man with brown hair and hazel eyes. His skin is white and he is approximately 1.80 centimeters tall. I speak, Griselda. You have a picture of him, another pastor spoke. Yes, here it is, showing his cell phone and then putting it in a larger image. The priest saw the image of the young man, and just because of his appearance, they began to talk. He's just a child, one spoke in surprise. It's hard to draw a conclusion from just one image. I'll talk about something else. I think he uses another kind of magic. He is definitely a pagan, said a priest. Don't say that. We don't know for sure. Looking at the pastor who said that, Griselda, the aforementioned, looks at him. Tell me, were you able to see or identify what kind of aura he possessed? I'm sorry, but I couldn't identify it. I can only assume it was magic, the nun replied. I see, said the pastor who asked. Go, Griselda. It seems you're getting careless, another priest spoke. But the aforementioned man only fell silent when he saw the woman's intimidating eyes. The comment was offensive to her. The man simply apologized for his audacity. He knew perfectly well that this woman didn't obey them, but someone much higher up. It didn't help that she belongs to the group of the 5 strongest exorcists in the world, being the second. Leaving this aside, I already informed you, unable to finish, because someone interrupted by slamming the door. Everyone saw the place where the noise was coming from and only saw how a young man entered carelessly and stopped while he was breathing heavily, as if he were in a marathon. What's going on? Why would you interfere with such an important meeting? An angry priest said. They're attacking us, the young man replied with fear and desperation in his voice. When he finished, the listeners looked at him as if he were crazy. What are you talking about? Asked the pastor. Demons are attacking the city, the young man shouted in despair. What? Those present exclaimed at such a revelation. How come demons don't attack? Said one of those present. Damn, how did you get here without being noticed? Asked another with doubt and anger. That doesn't matter anymore, an apostle spoke. Now tell us, when are they? We don't know exactly, but there are over 100, the young man spoke, scared. This revelation left everyone speechless. Griselda, now meet with the others and report and go to where the fight is, I demand, a pastor. Yes, you come with me now, demanded the blonde as she ran outside. Yes, ma'am, the young man spoke to go behind her. What's going on? Demons and angels are supposed to have a non-aggression pact. Did they betray us? The blonde thought worriedly. Chapter 12. Part of the city can be seen burning and destroyed. All that can be heard from the scene are screams and the sounds of blows. All of this was due to the group of exorcists fighting the demons that had come to attack this place. It was undoubtedly a massacre, given the many cut and sliced bodies scattered throughout the place. Don't go away! A female exorcist spoke fearfully as she lay on the ground, while some of the demons were targeting her. The demon approached her, intending to stab her with its claws. The woman simply closed her eyes in fear. A few seconds passed, and she felt nothing, so she decided to see what was happening. She saw the demon standing in front of her, and it didn't move, but after a few seconds the demon split in two. Behind the monster stood a blonde woman wearing a full-body black outfit. Sister Griselda. The woman spoke with surprise and joy. Leave now, we're not in charge, take the wounded if you can. The nun demanded. As you say. The woman replied, as she walked away. The woman only saw the demons gathering in front of her, and she could see it. There were quite a few of them. She viewed this situation seriously. She never imagined that Rome, a city guarded by the main church, would be attacked. For the audacity you had in invading the Holy Land, you renegades of life, you will be eliminated in the name of God, shouted the blonde woman in a commanding voice, and behind her there was a gigantic group of exorcists with swords in hand. In the name of God, attack! Griselda shouted, launching herself at the enemy, while the others followed. Yes, sir. The group responded. Meanwhile, in that distant spot, we saw a familiar figure. This was the woman with the crow mask. She smiled contentedly at how things were unfolding. Everything is going according to plan. The woman spoke to herself. Elsewhere. Give way to the church. What's going on? Demons invading the Holy Land. I'm speaking to the priest. I don't know, but this is strange. Another spoke. Why do you say that? One spoke. Because now they're looking to do something like that. As far as we know, demons don't seek to interact with the church directly. I asked doubtfully. That I can answer, spoke an unknown and new voice. After hearing the voice, Everyone was surprised and looked around to locate the place where it came from. However, they did not find it, until everyone moved their heads to the direction of the ceiling and saw it. They saw 3 people standing on the roof. 2 were wearing masks and the other wasn't. But the intruders were undoubtedly identified as a fallen angel and 2 humans. The trio watched everyone with extreme caution. But then, an unseen person appeared in front of them, sword in hand, ready to cut them down. But in a swift movement, Issei appeared in front of her and stopped her with his hand wrapped in aura. When he was stopped, he prepared to attack again. However, he was pinned to the wall. The trio descended to the ground, and the priest looked at them seriously. 11 other people appeared, swords in hand, which served as shields for the apostles. Some of the priests saw the young man who was nailed to the wall, and only clenched his hand in rage. The young man was nailed to his chest by a knife, where his heart was. "Who are you?" The same apostle commanded angrily. "We are the Apocalypse." The group leader spoke calmly. "Were you the ones responsible for bringing those demons to this city?" Another demanded. "That's pointless." Issei spoke again. "Is human life a game to you?" The same apostle responded angrily. "Don't worry about the human inhabitants there. They're safe, but your exorcists, that's another story." I speak calmly. "What are you looking for here?" A shepherd asked seriously. "I want the Exodus feather," Issei demanded calmly. That answer left the 12 apostles blank and the 11 bodyguards confused. "How do you know about that?" "I'm serious." "That doesn't matter. I'm just looking for the pen. Give it to me and your lives will be spared." Issei spoke seriously. "Never," roared one of them. "We will never hand over something so dangerous to someone like you." "Look, I'll get her eventually. Don't make things too difficult and hand her over." "Step aside, you can leave with your lives intact," Issei replied with the same calmness. "Don't underestimate us, kid. We're not the 12 apostles for nothing." A priest spoke while expelling a strong aura. "That's true. It was very foolish of you to come and confront us, especially with our guards." Another spoke calmly. "If we remove a threat, it will be erased and fewer people will know about the pen's existence." Another spoke. "May God have mercy on your poor sinful soul," said an apostle. "Everyone prepare yourselves." And used the young man in a red trench coat stepped forward. "Leader, let me take care of it." The man known as Abel spoke with chivalry. "Beat, protect the leader. Don't let him get blood on you." "I already know that, you don't have to say it," the blue-haired girl said seriously. "Who are you?" a guard demanded. "Oh, my apologies for my rudeness. I am Abel the 7th horseman." "Speaking Abel, rider?" one asked with confusion. "You dare say that you will be one of those responsible for bringing about the ruin of this world?" An apostle spoke seriously. "Yes, but not to the world. But not to its evil," the man said smiling. "Evil?" the shepherds wondered. "That doesn't matter. I have a job to do. And like a gentleman, I must finish it," he said, looking up at the ceiling and placing his hands behind his back, then extending them. But in his hands, between his fingers, he held knives. "I am Abel, and from the bottom of my heart I say this to you all. God bless you," he said, bowing, one hand near his hat. This action really angered those present, and the first to attack were the guards. "How dare you pronounce our sir?" exclaimed one. "I'll cut out that blasphemous tongue. I speak another language." All this was happening while he was running against Abel at high speed. However, the aforementioned just smiled. Place of confrontation between exorcist and demons. The place was a field of total slaughter. Corpses of demons and exorcists were scattered everywhere. Griselda was extremely tired. She had never had to fight for long before. She looked around sadly at the bodies of her already dead comrades. The demons that attacked were undoubtedly strong, unlike any she'd faced. Of her exorcist group, only 27 survived the massacre. Although, to her relief, there were no civilian casualties. She thought the previous group managed to get them all out before such a massacre. The blonde walked near the already dead body of a demon and simply inspected it. She proceeded to cover the body, because she knew she had to investigate the cause of all this. The attack wasn't random but planned. So she had to investigate and find the person responsible. The woman walked straight to where the remaining group was, but with a swift movement, she threw her sword at a nearby tree, to the bewilderment of her companions. but the sword only bounced off with a metallic sound and stuck into the ground. This action surprised everyone there, but Griselda was serious. She just turned her head and then saw a woman wearing a crow mask. "Who are you?" the blonde asked. Her companions, noticing her presence, were on guard. Yar, that's no way to ask things, you know?" asked the hooded woman. "I'm not playing games," she answers. The blonde demanded. "I can't say my name, but I can say this. I'm Zane and I'm part of the Apocalypse group," the woman said proudly. Griselda just memorized the information while she continued to evaluate the woman in front of her, until she decided to ask questions. "You're the one responsible for bringing these demons here," the blonde said. "Yes," Zayn replied. Such a careless response, as if he didn't care that all the lives sacrificed in this fight were nothing. "What did he do?" the blonde wondered in surprise and concern. Some of her companions fell like sacks of potatoes, and their weapons were destroyed. "Don't worry about them, they're fine, they just lost consciousness. Besides, it's not time to fight yet," the woman said calmly. "What do you mean?" the blonde spoke, while looking carefully at the woman for any strange movement. "I was just following the orders given by the leader. After all, this is a distraction. I speak maliciously." Such a revelation caused my eyes to snap open. And as quickly as I could, I said, "Quickly, get back to the Congress, now!" The nun roared as she drew another sword. "I won't let you escape. I'm sorry, although this fight would be entertaining. My mission is over and therefore I am leaving," the woman said calmly as she turned around and walked into the forest. The blonde, seeing what the masked woman was doing, runs after her, but as if it were a joke, the woman in front of her disappeared. This surprised Griselda, who didn't see her move. But she managed to hear the last message. "We'll see you soon, Griselda Corta, ha ha ha," laughed the hooded woman. The aforementioned just gritted her teeth and ran away from the place in the direction of Congress. "Too bad it is late." Congress closes the meeting. The place where the 12 apostles and their guards met was destroyed. But what was most disturbing was that the entire site was painted red. For those present, it was one of the worst scenes they will ever see in their lives. The entire place was stained with blood, and organs and limbs could be seen scattered around the room. Some younger people voted for this scene, but that wasn't the worst of it. Griselda, upon arriving, saw the mess and clenched her fists. She walked all over the place until she reached the room she would never forget. Some in the group were horrified, others were crying and holding their heads. Griselda watched this scene with love. In front of her were the 12 apostles crucified in the worst possible way. The 12 on her body were cut, and some of their organs were on. They were leaving. And on the back of them there was a writing, "You shall not swear by heaven or by earth. And you shall not take the name of your God in vain. For vengeance is mine, says the Lord." Somewhere else. "You went too far, idiot," the blue-haired woman spoke with annoyance. "A gentleman does his best to ensure that the work entrusted to him is perfect." Abel replied. "Silence," Issei said. The two people fell silent and looked at him. Issei extended his hands, and a golden box emerged from a magic circle and headed toward the sky. The brunette stared, and a sacred aura surrounded him. The box stopped in midair and began to glow in the same way. The light was so strong that it blinded the others. As the sky dissipated, the two young men looked up at the sky. The box had once been in its original place, but now it wasn't there. Instead, there was a silver feather, surrounded by a golden, sky-blue aura. Issei smiles at this, and with his hands extended he releases his aura again. But now the feather reacts with it, and as if it were a spear it went to Issei, who took it with his hands with extreme delicacy. The feather of Exodus. With this, I will no longer only be able to take the abilities of my enemies, now I will be able to take and copy their auras. Issei spoke softly. Beat and Abel opened their eyes in surprise. They stared at their leader in astonishment. There's not much left for the world to change for the better," Issei said, looking at the starry sky, but if you looked closely he wasn't looking at the sky but something beyond. Chapter 13. After the great attack on the Vatican in Italy, the entire supernatural world had become a complete chaos. The angels were upset by the massacre that had occurred in the church. While it was true that this attack had taken him by surprise, the group called Apocalypse was a real danger to the factions where this was becoming increasingly complicated. All the angels in heaven were looking for some clue or something that would lead him to that strange group of murderers. Although of course this information did not get out of control as had happened with the Association of Magicians, this information was totally classified as top secret. The only ones who knew it were the high-ranking seraphim. Somewhere in the world, in a beautiful field, you could see a red-haired man next to a man with black hair and blonde strands, while a glow had appeared just behind both men, where from there came out a man with long blonde hair and was wearing a robe. This man was Michael, the current leader of Los Angeles, while the other two were Azazel, the leader of Grigori, and Sir Chest, the current Lucifer. "Hello, how long has it been, Azazel and Sir Chest?" Michael said as the aforementioned returned the greeting. "I see things got out of hand too, huh?" Azazel said, looking at Michael, who nods and then takes out a notebook. "We were investigating the reason for the attack, but nothing was taken. The fragments of the Excalibur are still in place," Michael said as Azazel begins to think seriously. The reason Delos attacks. "This is very strange. First the Association of Magicians, and now the Vatican. Regarding the Association of Magicians, the only thing we know is that they managed to rescue someone, and Tobio still doesn't have clear information. I speak for the first time, Sir Chest, where leaders only begin to think about the reasons for these attacks." "Michael, does anyone else know this?" Azazel asked. "No, no one knows. Only high-ranking angels are the only ones who know, and the only high-ranking exorcists," Michael said, while the other leaders just stood there thinking what to do. "But Griselda said something that made me a little curious." This is Michael speaking. "What a thing, Michael," said Sir Chest. "She said she saw a person who had cured a disabled person, although she didn't know what he used. The only thing she knows is that it was magic." The angel explained. Both leaders looked at each other, and then nodded. "Do you have a picture of what it looks like?" Azazel said. Michael nods and then shows a picture of a boy with a lot of long brown hair next to a beautiful female figure next to him. "Whistle. Whoever that guy is, he certainly has good taste," Azazel said. Sir Chest looked at the photo for a few seconds and then realized something. "This guy, I've seen him before," said Sir Chest, calling the attention of both leaders. "Seriously, do you know who it could be?" Michael asked. Sir Chest nodded as he looked at the photo a little better. "He is the son of Goro Hyoudou Miki Hyoudou and the brother of the current Security," said Sir Chest. "Do you think he has something to do with these attacks?" said Azazel. "I don't know. What his family told me is that he doesn't have magic, but this is very strange," said Sir Chest while putting on a serious expression. "But will we keep an eye on him?" With that said, both leaders nod in confirmation. "Okay, with all this, I have to go. See you later, Sir Chest and Azazel." After that, Michael was covered in a golden glow, and then disappeared, leaving Azazel and Sir Chest alone. "Are you going to tell this to his family?" Azazel asked. Sir Chest only remains silent for a few minutes, and then looks at the sky. "You'd better not. They don't have to know this yet. It will be for another occasion. If they said that he wasn't born with magic and without sacred gears," said Sir Chest seriously, "it will be better this way. Although that group said they were not our enemy, there is something that still worries me," said Azazel. Sir Chest only looked at him for a few minutes, sighed. "How powerful are they, and what are they looking for?" After that, both leaders had left in a magic circle from there, but without any of them realizing that a figure had come out of a shadow, where from there came a man who was wearing formal clothing while looking around the place with a smile. "I see that everything is going as the leader said, hee. This is definitely getting very interesting. Don't you think so, Alan?" When he said that, an albino boy came out from behind the man, who was wearing an exorcist outfit, and a hood that covered almost his entire face, and had a special animal on his head. "I see that you have improved a lot, Abel, and no doubt the leaders are worried about what will happen from now on, especially Issei's family." When he said that, both men had disappeared from the place without leaving any trace. The winter holidays had already ended, Issei's return to Ko as well as returning to the academy. When Issei arrived at Ko, his whole family had gone to pick him up, as well as Rias, who had accompanied the family where, after all, they had all gone to the house where they asked the brown-haired man how it had happened. The brown-haired man replied that he had a good time and without any problems. When he had arrived at the residence, the family was going to have a small celebration of the chestnut's return, just like Rias, but Issei had said that he was tired of the trip and had gone to sleep. This clearly discouraged the family a little, but in the end they accepted. While Rias was a little decided since she wanted to make Issei try her food. After that the family had dinner alone, and then they went to their respective rooms where the week passed as normal for Issei, where he returned to training with the school's soccer team in addition to continuing with his normal life. Naomi, although she was spending little time with her brother as well as her family, this is because fallen angels had appeared in the area where she had met a very tender nun. After that, Naomi had found out what Ivan had done to the nun, and thanks to Ria's help they had managed to rescue the nun named Asia Argento, who had then begun to live in the Hyoudou residence. Asia had quickly won the affection of Issei's and Naomi's parents, who considered her their third daughter. While Naomi treated her like a younger sister, Issei was simply kind to her. After that, both Rias Murayama and Aquino had tried to make some romantic advances with Issei, which was somewhat unexpected, but still, Ivan slowly and surely. It had been 2 months where Issei's relationship with his family had changed a little, not much, although Issei could now be indifferent on some occasions more with his parents and Naomi. But now at least I spent a little time with them, not much, but I did spend time and talk to them more. Then a problem began and her engagement was arranged with Razor Pehex, an arrogant and womanizer, according to Rias, where everything would result in a rating game, where they were again missing for 2 full weeks due to the training that Naomi proposed to Rias's entourage, and the same one who, although these 2 months had passed, she and Naomi had not yet reduced their training at all, who had also gotten into Aquino. Already on the day of the meeting, one weekend, Naomi's parents had to lie to Issei's face again, saying that a problem had arisen with something. Just like Naomi, who simply watched as Issei seemed to not care and didn't care where they had gone. The fight was brutal, where Rias's entourage demonstrated great superiority in combat, both physical and strategic, where laughter with Naomi had caused great trauma to Razor, who had given up after that defeat. Winner of the ranted game is Rias Gremory. The whole Gremory group was celebrating while Rias cried with happiness. "Yes, we did it, guys!" Rias had shouted while hugging Naomi, and then thinking about a certain person who in these months had finally clarified his feelings for the brunette. "I've already decided I'm going to confess to Issei." With that thought in mind, Rias was ready to finally take a step forward in her relationship. Human World/Co. Issei could be seen leaning against a railing where he was wearing a black leather jacket, and they are leaning against the railing. After that the door opens and out comes a beautiful woman with long brown hair. She was wearing glasses and was dressed in a pink jacket and a short skirt. A smile adorns her face. Issei just smiles while he takes his hand to the brunette, who takes it where she approaches, and both give a kiss on the lips and then separate from Issei's lips. "Ready for our date?" Issei asked. "Sure, I'm always ready if it's you," Chisato replied. With that, both couples had held hands and began to leave the hotel to spend a beautiful evening together without any problems. Special +18. In the beautiful city of Germany, after Issei had rebelled against the factions and managed to make them fear him, Issei had escaped from them and ended up appearing in Germany. In a limousine, you could see Issei sitting inside the limousine while he was wearing a formal suit, while he was looking at the city. At that moment the limousine stops right in front of a huge luxury building, where the brunette simply looked at the building and then got out of the limousine, then adjusted his tuxedo and looked at his driver. "Issei, thanks to Fred," said the brown-haired boy. The driver nods and then gets back into the limo and leaves, leaving Issei, who begins to walk inside the building. Already inside the building you could see a huge party of several important people talking. While several servants were having drinks as well as one or another, Issei just takes a glass of wine and begins to drink it while he begins to mingle with the locals. While on the other side of the party you could see an albino with pale skin and light blue eyes, and he was also wearing a formal suit. He was also looking in the whole direction of the place while he was having a drink. Beside him was a beautiful woman, with blue hair, yellow eyes, and pale skin. She was also wearing a black dress that only left her stomach exposed, while she had a purse in her hand. "Cal Warner, so here's the other blessing, huh?" she said to Karna. "Karna, that's right, Cal Warner," replied Karna calmly. "It would be better to enjoy the party without raising any suspicions," he advised. Cal Warner just nods and then walks away from Karna, while in one of the corners of the place was Chisato wearing a brown dress and stockings, leaving one of her legs exposed. while she was looking around the place calmly. In that, Issei approaches Chisato. "Issei, beautiful lady, wouldn't you like to dance a piece with me?" said the brown-haired man formally. Chisato makes a slight amused smile, and then takes Issei's hand and begins to walk towards the middle of the track, where the brunette places his left hand on the brunette's waist, while with his right hand he takes the brunette's hand, while Chisato places his hand on Issei's shoulder with his left hand. "I don't know about you, but this movie is truly beautiful." Smiling face with heart eyes, loudly crying face. The dance had begun. Issei and Chisato began to take a step forward while Chisato took a step back, while Karna took advantage of this moment to enter a dressing room. "Hey, can't you?" But the man could not finish speaking because Karna had given him a hook in the stomach and then grabbed his head and slammed it against the table, not letting him stay, and then started walking around the place. On the other side, Warner was walking calmly, and then she passed by a beautiful lady to drop some marbles where some waiters bumped into the girl where Warner just smiled. While Issei and Chisato were attracting everyone's attention, Karna was climbing some stairs and then saw two guards. While he started to zoom in on them, the guards were about to attack him, but the first guard received a blow to the chest, and then the other guard tried to hit him, but Karna dodged it by moving to the side. In the dance, Issei makes Chisato do a spin where they are again stuck to each other while a few centimeters from their faces. Karna hits the face of guard 2 and then dodges a blow from guard 1 where Karna hits him in the chest, and then takes his arm and makes him do a somersault where the guard falls to the ground. Karna easily dodges the blow to the back where he as quickly takes the face, and he gives a good amount of body blows to then give him a serious blow to the neck, making the one guard choke so that Karma gives him a right with his open palm, making one guard fly and crash into the wall and end up knocked out. Issei and Chiso were slowly approaching his face, and then both of them gave each other a passionate kiss. Karna just takes the second guard by the arm to hit him several times in the chest, and then hit him in the neck, followed by an uppercut to the chin, knocking out the guard. Karna just sighs and then just adjusts his tuxedo and begins to open the door and enter the place. While with Calawarn, she had the card in her hands, and then she entered a room. Already inside the apartment, she saw a small museum where she only makes a small whistle and then begins to search. Issei and Chisato had stopped from the kiss where both began to receive several applauses where both just smile, and then Chisato put his hand on the brown-haired man's arm, and then both begin to walk to a more secluded place. While with Karna, he was in a security room hacking the security cameras, and then he got it and made a magic communication circle. "Karna, Calawarner ready. Take it," Karna announced from the magic circle. "Received." It was heard from the other side while Karna alone leaves the place as calmly as possible. While with Calawarn, he was in front of a window looking at a cane. She takes the cane carefully and then smiles and disappears from the place in a magic circle. While with the brown-haired man, she was leaving the luxury building with Chisato, and then he got into his limousine with her, and then walked away from there. Time skip. And, in a huge mansion where the door of the mansion opens, where the brunette enters with Chisato, then they separate where the brunette takes off the jacket he was wearing, then go to a mini bar to prepare some cocktails for her and him, while lighting a cigarette. Then the brown-haired man takes both glasses and starts walking towards the living room, where he sees Chisato sitting on the sofa where the brown-haired man hands him the cocktail. "Chisato, thank you, Issei-kun," she thanked him. The brunette just laughs and sits next to her, while taking a sip of cocktail. Then Chisato just settles a little more and looks the brunette in the eyes, who just takes a sip of cocktail, while Chisato just begins to run her fingers along the brunette's leg, who just looks at her for a few minutes, and lead a light kiss on the lips where they both separate and look directly into each other's eyes. "Chisato, you know something, Issei-kun, lately I get turned on when you're dressed like this." She purred and began to kiss the brunette, who returned the kiss and then left his cigarette in an ashtray, and Chisato just placed himself on top of the brunette, who took her by the waist, where the kiss little by little began to become more lustful, where both separated for a few minutes, and then Chisato returned to tuck against Issei, where both began a tongue fight. Lemon skipped. After that, both ended up falling into the arms of Morpheus, where at the end of a long and eventful night, both returned to deepen that love that they both felt. Cap 14. After Ria's victory against her ex-fiancé, a party had been held in the Gremory house where the Hyoudou family had been invited, something they accepted without complaint. After those parties, everything had returned to normal. Well, almost everything, since Issei no longer spent much time with his family, and barely spoke to Rias again. Although the parents wanted to know what their son was doing, They could not object to anything. Although Rias and Naomi thought he was dating someone, they quickly dismissed it, and after a few weeks, Rias, Naomi, and everyone in the occult club had returned to normal. Well, almost everything. Current events. You could see Issei dressed casually, so to speak. He was wearing a black kakita, underneath a white t-shirt, along with black pants and white sneakers. It was noticeable that he was waiting for someone to appear. "Issei-kun!" A female voice had called the brown-haired man, who turned around and saw a beautiful girl with red hair and light blue eyes wearing a pink sleeveless shirt, along with purple shorts with long stockings and black heels. "Rias, sorry for the delay, Issei." Rias had apologized while the brown-haired man shook his head in denial, and then spoke again. "It doesn't matter, you look beautiful." Alego Issei, while laughing, blushes from embarrassment, and then smiles. "Thank you, Issei-kun, you look good too," Rias said while Issei smiles amused. "Come on, then." With that said, both began to walk along with Rias, while in the distance Naomi, Akino, and Asia could be seen watching from afar. Foo, it seems Bucho went ahead." Akino said something jealous. Naomi said nothing, she remained silent. "Akino-san, why are we following Issei-san, your Rias-san?" Asia, the purple-haired girl, asks who she is and is going to answer, but she is cut off by Naomi. "Let's go quickly, they're going to get lost," Naomi said, as she began to follow her, as did Akino and Asia, while in the distance someone could be seen walking calmly. He had white hair and was wearing a tuxedo, and then he just began to follow them. Time skip. All day, as much as Issei had fun, where they had gone everywhere. First they went to the amusement park where they had gotten on several rides. After that they went to the cinema where they saw the Marvel movie, Deadpool to be more precise. And finally they went to a fast food place, where Issei had ordered a hamburger with French fries, along with a glass of Coke, and Rias also ordered the same. While with the stalkers she had followed the couple everywhere discreetly. Now we see how Issei and Rias were walking through Cope Park, where they both sit on a bench. "I had a lot of fun today, Issei-kun." "I laughed too." No one said anything, they remained silent. They were shaking with nerves, then they just started breathing, and then they spoke again. "Issei-kun, can I tell you something?" "What thing?" Issei had replied. "While you laugh, breathe Ando and then speak." "You know, ever since I met you, you were a very good and kind person to me, and the truth is you were the first man who didn't treat me like a piece of meat or see me as a prize." She had clarified Issei's points. Sighed, "And the truth is I had a great time, thanks Issei-kun." Issei remained silent. He hadn't responded, nothing. Although he was already getting an idea of what she was trying to say, this simply wasn't in his plans. Although he liked Rias and everything, he never expected this. "And the truth is, Issei-kun, I thank you too for being my friend, but I..." Bringing her hands to her chest right where her heart is and with a blush on her cheeks. "Issei-kun, I like it!" she had shouted. Silence. Issei hadn't responded. About 3 minutes passed and Rias was getting more and more nervous. "Rias-san," Issei spoke calmly. "I don't know how to answer this," Issei said. "But I don't see you the same. I see you as a friend." Rias had only remained silent, holding back the urge to cry, while clenching her teeth, and many questions were rolling in her head. "I'm sorry, but I can't reciprocate your feelings. But if you want, we can still be friends." Rias just stood up and looked at Issei with tears. "I'm sorry, Issei-kun, but I want to be alone." When Issei and I was going to talk, Rias quickly ran away, leaving Issei alone. While in the distance Naomi was watching all this as well as Akino and Asia, and then she left from there leaving Issei alone, who then just sits on the bench and looks at the sky, for someone to sit next to him. "Kokabeel is already making his move," a female voice spoke, while Issei stood up and put his hands in his pockets. "Well, tell the others to get ready. It's time to make preparations, to reveal myself." After that Issei began to walk away, leaving the woman alone, who stood up and began to walk away from there. A week had already passed where many things had changed. First, Rias had fallen into a small depression, while she was comforted by her friends and entourage, just as Issei's parents had found out why the redhead's attitude had changed. When Naomi had told her everything, what had happened between Rias and Issei, although of course this surprised her parents. But her mother just didn't know what to say. She was upset that her daughter was a little unspeakable with Rias, but she couldn't say anything. And with Issei, well, he was the least affected of all. Then there was a meeting of the occult club where the mother had shown some photos to the members of the occult club where you could see a photo of Naomi, Issei with a child while behind him there was a sword hanging. This made Kiba change radically where he ended up leaving home. Days passed that Kiba did not go to school where later, in Issei's house 2 people had appeared where they had introduced themselves. One of them was Issei's childhood friend, Irina Shido. The other was her companion Zenobia Korda. She was Irina's friend and companion. They wanted to talk about an important topic that consisted of something. Of course, Issei's mother had cast a magic spell on him to put him to sleep and he was taken to their room. When they were going to ask something, Naomi had told him that her brother didn't know about the supernatural since he didn't have magic or sacred gears, and it was better that he didn't know anything. After that, the demons had settled down next to the Hyoudous to talk. "Well, Irina, what are you here for?" Naomi had asked. "Well, the truth is that the church was blocked, but they don't know who did it." "How come the church was attacked and by whom?" Issei's mother spoke, surprised just like the demons were also surprised. "It is not known who was the group that attacked the Vatican Church, but after that there was another attack," Irina had said. "The one who attacked this time was the cadre Kokabile. He stole fragments of the Excalibur." "Wait, are you saying Kokabile, the same Kokabile who fought against the biblical god himself, alongside the original Lucifer?" Naomi had said, not believing it. "That's right." Zenobia spoke for the first time, getting into the conversation. "The other reason is that they didn't give you orders, specifically that we need your help." The demons were surprised, and then they started talking. "What kind of help?" you would ask. "It's that you don't leave, be in your territory without problem. Also if you can't offer your help," asked Zenobia. The whole demon group was surprised and then laughed, only to clear their throats and speak again. "I'll have to weigh it," Rias said. "But if there's any problem, we'll act." With that said, both women stand up and bow. "Thank you very much," they both said and then left there. Everything was silent while Rias sat on the sofa next to Issei's family, where the only thing that reigned was silence. "Well, what are you going to do, Rias?" Naomi asked, looking at Rias. "I'll have to talk to Sona tomorrow about this," clarified Rias. After that, everyone had gone to do their things while Naomi went to her brother's room and then entered and saw Issei sleeping peacefully lying down where she just approached and took his hand. "I promise you, Issei-kun, that I will protect you from all evil," she said as she approached his face and gave him a kiss on the cheek, very close to his lips, then left there leaving Issei alone. Chapter 15. On the beautiful night in Ko City, everything was peaceful and quiet, except for Rias Gremory who was in her room. Her face showed that she was crying, while she was looking at a photo of her with Issei. "Why does this hurt so much?" she had said while bringing her hands to her heart. She had never been interested in a boy before since everyone saw her body and her breasts. This really bothered her, but she couldn't object to anything. "Because I tried hard for you to see me as a woman, Issei-kun, but you don't see me the same." She cursed herself for Issei's attitude, but she didn't have to think about that right now. But the problem that had arisen with the girls, the exorcist, and the theft of the sacred swords, and the other huge problem with Kokabile if she died or even if Sona died, a great war was going to start where most likely the human world would be in the middle. With this she already had a big headache, but she was grateful to have help from Naomi who said she would help in any way she could. Although it hurts her because of what Issei said, she had to be serious and be ready to fight. Her thoughts were interrupted when the door opens and right there Naomi walks in who, seeing Rias in that state, all she felt was pity. Although she was wondering why Issei had rejected her, even a tremendous beauty like her, she just sighed and approached Rias. "Rias, how are you feeling?" she asked, while looking at the redhead. "What do you want me to tell you, Naomi?" she said sadly. "It hurts a lot." She began to shed tears while clenching her fists tightly. "I did a lot to make Issei-kun see me as a woman, and in the end it was of no use," she cried. Naomi looks at her for a few moments. She didn't know what to say to this, since until now it had never happened to her. She just approached her and began to comfort her. While with Issei, he was waking up little by little, only to realize that he was in his room. Sighing, he just sits down and starts to get dressed. "I'm already thinking about getting tired of Sergio." Looking at this, his voice sounded somewhat annoyed, and who wouldn't be? They had changed his resources more than once. He had launched a magic attack to put him to sleep. It would be better not to think about that now, he muttered to himself as he stood up. Walking towards his closet, he started to change and then just went out the window and started walking away from the house, while no one noticed him. While Issei walked through the dark streets of Ko's city in such a calm manner, he had arrived at a house. Giving a sigh, he went inside where he saw Alan, who was sitting reading a book. Alan, Issei mentioned as he took a seat. "Hello, Issei," said Alan while he didn't take his eyes off the book. "Tell me something, Alan, why did you call me?" Issei asked. "It's simple. The leaders are starting to suspect you," he said calmly as he left the book on the table, and Lugo looked at Issei. "I see, so you're starting to suspect me. Do you know the reason?" Issei asked. "I think you know who Griselda Corda is, right?" Alan mentions while Issei nods. "Well, she had taken a picture of you while you had healed the man," he mentioned calmly. I see, I downplay it. The truth is, he didn't have to worry too much about that issue. After all, when he rebelled against the supernatural beings, they would most likely go after his head. The other thing is, everyone is asking, "Are you capable of killing?" Alan asked. Issei felt a bit tired. He had already killed many people. "Are you kidding me?" Issei asked in a relaxed manner, and Alan denies it. "I don't think I'm being very specific," said Alan. "What I want to tell you, Issei, is, are you capable of killing your own family?" asked Alan. Now Issei understood what Alan was referring to, and that is that he could kill them peacefully and his mind would not be filled with guilt or resentment. He felt nothing for them, nor did he hate, or even love, he only indifferent when he looked at them. "If I can kill them, if they become people who make our work difficult, I will take charge of killing them so that they do not interfere with our plans," said Issei very calmly. Alan just nods. "Okay, take this." Issei threw him a bottle. "What you have there is Samuel's poison. You know, dragons are immune to magic of any kind," he said calmly. Issei just takes the jar and then just looks at it for a few moments, and then puts it in his pocket, and then just leaves the place, leaving Alan alone, who goes back to reading his book. During the course of the week, the exorcists had gone to the Ko Academy as they had mentioned, to talk to the other person in charge of the territory. Although things did not go well, the reason being that Zenobia Corda had insulted Asia Argento for being a heretic and a member of the demons, something that bothered everyone in the room. Kiba had challenged both girls to a duel and Naomi had also interfered. The battle was relatively short. Zenobia had quickly finished the fight against Kiba. What Naomi and Irina had was more interesting, although Naomi only played with her for a while. As she was not a demon, her attacks did not harm her. The battle concluded with Naomi as the winner of the fight. Zenobia told Naomi that the White One was already awake. This made Naomi grimace in disgust at having to face the White Emperor Dragon. Already past the academy, everyone returned to their daily routine, up to the present, where the girls were already in the Ko Academy waiting for Kokabeel to appear, while in the distance is Issei watching everything calmly and quietly, while waiting for the fight to begin. "So here you were," a female voice said behind Issei. "If I wanted to see how my sister would fight this fight," he said calmly. "Can I know what you are doing here, Calaworn?" Issei asked. Calaworn just walks towards Issei and stands next to him. "Tell me, what are we going to do now? Interfere or wait until the faction meeting?" Calaworn asked, looking at the brown-haired boy's back. Issei didn't answer the question. He just kept watching the fight that was about to begin. Chapter 16. Issei was just watching the battle that was taking place in the academy, Ko, and the truth was he was slightly disappointed by how the problem was being resolved. Akino does not stop attacking Cerberus with her rays, but this time she was using her fallen angel wings. Her attacks were truly powerful and very lethal. Asia did what she could, healing the wounded. Kaneko easily knocked down one or another Cerberus. And then Kiba and Zenobia also appeared in the battle royale. Everything was almost equal. Kiba wanted to destroy a sacred sword for revenge, and his sister Naomi along with Rias managed to greatly damage the cadre. That left the brown-haired boy a little surprised, who just continued observing everything. When he looked towards the barrier, and there he saw his parents along with everyone, Citri took off, holding back the barrier. "Sigh, the battle is going on too long," Issei commented in a bored tone. "Although it seems that the White Emperor is just paying attention," said Issei, looking over the barrier at the White Dragon. Calaworn stood with her arms crossed, also watching the fight. She knew that Kokabeel's power was monstrous, but she was not going to interfere too much. She waited for Issei to give her an order. Issei just stood up where a magic circle made a black bow appear, and then an arrow appeared. Calaworn looked at all this interestingly and wanted to see what Issei would do right now. Then Issei places the arrow and then shoots the arrow towards where the fight was. "This will be the last time I help you," Naomi Issei said calmly and turned around Calaworn. "Tell the others to prepare for the faction meeting," Issei said and ordered. "Understood," Calaworn said and then disappeared in a magic circle without leaving any trace from there. Issei just turned his face slightly, and then also disappeared in a magic circle. Ko Academy. The fight was already in its final moment. Kokobile had a few injuries but remained standing. Naomi was without a drop of sweat, as was Rias. "This is very exciting. It's been a while since I had fun doing this," Kokobile said as he created a huge spear of light. "But enough of games, and it's time to finish this." When he was about to throw the spear of light, the entire magic shield that covered the academy had been destroyed. "Comrade, cover yourself now!" Drake had shouted at Naomi along with the rest. They had quickly created a magic shield and Kokobile was unable to react to the attack. Boom! A huge explosion had been generated all over the place where it began to take everything in its path, where several girls from the occult club had been sent flying, while the Hyoudou had quickly created a huge drill around the academy where a deep earthquake had been generated in the place. After a few minutes the earthquake had calmed down, where Naomi and Issei's parents had fallen to the ground completely exhausted, while inside the explosion both Iria and Naomi had several burns on some parts of their bodies. Elsewhere, Akino's breast was wounded and with varying degrees of maturity, and on one side Kiba ended up being thrown against a tree right in his abdomen. Zenobia was very close to death, and on the other side, Asia was worse. She had a rock that had crushed her legs and one of her arms, while she had a piece of debris stuck to her shoulder, and thanks to her sacred gear she was still alive. Who was the one who did this?" Naomi had asked while she was kneeling next to her, and laughing the same way. "Whatever it is, we're lucky to be alive," he said with a smile, and then fainted, followed by Naomi. While far away the whole group of Citri and the Hyoudou ran to help, while in the sky there was a white armor watching all this. "Albion, tell me if you felt that," asked the man in armor. "Whoever launched the attack, I'm pretty sure they wanted to make a clear message." The dragon spoke. "It would be better to leave here without anyone being dismissed," he said as he left that place. 2 days passed since Kokobile's attack, where the academy was rebuilt and Naomi and Rias ended up too tired, while others ended up hospitalized in the underworld hospital. The 2 days that Rias and Naomi stayed in the hospital, they only received bicycles from their parents and some other relatives to see how they were. Everyone in the Hyoudou family was worried about Naomi's health, and they also went to visit her to check on her health. The only one who didn't go see his sister was Issei, either because he didn't want to or because he simply didn't care. Already on the day of the parents' meeting, Ria and Naomi were already better, where the mouse Sir Chest Lucifer spoke personally with Naomi, where he explained the subject of the alliance that was going to be formed by the 3 great factions. Meeting day. Everyone was already prepared to begin the faction meeting. Among them were some members of the Hyoudou family, Naomi Hyoudou, Issei's aunt, and Laiko Hyoudou, Issei's cousin, and Naomi along with the Chestnut's parents and grandparents. They were all waiting for the meeting to start. On the other side of town, you could see Issei standing looking at the whole city. He was very calm, while behind him was Calaworn next to Karna. Both were holding a beautiful woman with dark skin and great attributes. She was wearing glasses and was all injured. "And well, Kateria Leviathan, tell me, have you already made your decision?" Issei asked while looking at the demon in front of him. "I prefer to die than to serve a miserable human," she replied. "As you wish," said Issei without fear, and then decapitated the descendant Leviathan without any passion. The chestnut made the katana disappear and then looked towards the Ko Academy, wearing a black formal suit, while a crow sat on the chestnut's shoulder who did not react to the presence of the animal. "And now get ready, because there will be a good show there," Issei mentioned while he opened his eyes a little and they began to shine golden. Karna and Calaworn nod to disappear from that place, leaving Issei alone. In his right hand he held a book, and in his other hand he held his artifice to cover his face. It would be better to start with this. Issei placed his artifice on his face and began to walk towards the Ko Academy in a very calm and quiet manner without any problem whatsoever, leaving a large mountain of demon and angel bodies behind. And the entire faction meeting had managed to reach an agreement. Everyone was at peace, and that was it. No one could say or do anything. The Hyoudou family was really happy that everything was over there in the best way. Although Naomi was happier since she could worry less about the safety of her younger brother Issei, everything was spoken in a very calm and quiet way. No one said anything, although for some strange reason it felt like something bad was going to happen. At that moment, everyone who was in the occult club had disappeared and appeared right in the courtyard of the academy. What the hell just happened? Rias asked, looking around the place. Everyone had been put on guard, and would be expected suddenly. Crack! Crack! The barrier that was covering the entire school had begun to break. Cracks! The barrier had been completely destroyed. None of the leaders or the rest of the demons, as well as any of the members of the Hyoudou family, knew what was happening, but suddenly they all felt a deep cold air giving several chills to everyone in the place. Clap! Clap! Footsteps had begun to be heard throughout the place where the faction leaders had been put on guard just like everyone else. No one was moving or doing anything. It's a pleasure to see you again. Leader spoke a voice that made the whole place stand on guard. Among this whole group, Naomi and the albino who was the current White Emperor were very serious, and were also waiting for him to make his appearance. Slipping out of the shadows, everyone saw that there came none other than Abaddon Lucifer, who was wearing a very formal suit and the same mask he used to attack the Association of Magicians. Everyone became serious. Azazel and Sir Chest wanted to be the first to attack the person who seriously harmed their friends and their protege, as well as Naomi for wanting to break the face of the guy who murdered several people in the Magicians Association. Among them were all the Hyoudou looking annoyed at Abaddon, and had also put himself in a combat position. Calm down, I didn't come here to fight, because we don't talk like civilized people, Abaddon said calmly. Tell me, what are you doing here? Sir Chest asked seriously. Abaddon brought his hands to the back and began to walk sideways. Nothing in particular, just curious. Abaddon answered the question without even bothering. What do you want now? Azazel asked seriously while Penemu stood next to him. Abaddon only looks at them for a few minutes. You know something? I've always believed in the existence of the soul. That's why I'm always thinking about doing something that the dead would have liked to have done. I mean an extravagant act, said Abaddon with his arms crossed. None of the leaders or those who were there had understood what he had said. Extravagant? What do you mean? Naomi asked this time, looking at Abaddon. This just puts a slight smile on his face. Look, to make something clear, I want to do something very easy, and that is to save this world from its pathetic end, said Abaddon, looking at everyone. It is true that we do not know how to integrate into society, but that is why we want to learn to start from scratch, explained Abaddon calmly. From scratch? Are you saying you want to commit genocide, or do you plan to rule everything? Sir Chest asked seriously. Sign nothing like that. I don't want to dominate or govern, he said seriously. So what do you want? Michael asked. I think I made it clear, right? I mentioned calmly, leaving. So I'll ask you something. Why did you kill several innocent people? And not only that, you attacked the church and killed several people. Naomi asked this time, looking at Abaddon. I hate people who question what I do. It takes more than guts to question me, he replied, but it's simple. I just wanted something that the church had, nothing more than that. It's not very important to you because you don't know anything about God, or do you? He asked, abandoning. What do you mean by that? Michael asked seriously, although something was making him very uncomfortable. I imagined it, but I'll leave that as homework for you, Michael, he said, amused. Don't you regret all the lives you took? Naomi asked seriously. Sigh, I never regret, not once in my life. And you regret leaving what is important to you? I asked, now abandoned. The whole place was filled with a huge silence. Naomi was stunned, and she wasn't the only one. Her parents and the rest of the Hyoudou family. No one said anything, but then an albino came forward. I don't know who you are, but right now I'm going to hit you so hard for what you did to my friend Tobias, said the albino, very annoyed while he was covering himself with a white armor. So what are you waiting for? Attack Vala, said Abaddon, amused. At that point, Vala rushed towards Asia Abaddon at enormous speed. Divide, 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 divide. Using his Sacred Gears ability, Vala launched a powerful blow to Abaddon's face, who only had his eyes shining, and when Vala realized, Abaddon had his open palm right on his abdomen. Crack! The armor was destroyed, and then he received a powerful blow to the stomach, causing Vala to fly away and crash into the academy wall. Everyone was wide-eyed, looking at Abaddon, who was standing and not sweating a drop. They quickly got on guard. I think they're too much for one person? Abaddon said calmly. Naomi was the first to go attack, being followed by Rias where boots, 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 boots. Naomi made several increases where she aimed to throw a powerful hook. She moved at an enormous speed where she took her by the arms, and then threw her against the rivers where they both flew. The leaders went out to fight Abaddon, Azazel, and Michael. They quickly created spears of light by Sir Chest and charged their fists with the power of destruction. Sir Chest threw a right hook, but Abaddon easily dodges it where he gives him a powerful knee to the stomach, then dodges a lunge from Azazel where Abaddon grabs his head and then slams him into the ground, creating a mini crater. Michael threw several spears of light, but Abaddon just began to dodge them. Moving quickly, he jumped towards the sky to kick Michael, who managed to put his arms to cover himself, and where he fell to the ground. In just 5 minutes, I'll send you back to heaven, Abaddon said calmly as he rushed towards Michael. At that moment, a wall of ice appeared where you were. You see the Mao Leviathan attacking Abaddon with several ice stakes. Abaddon manages to dodge a few stakes, but then he receives a powerful blow to his back from Valle, who was bleeding from his mouth. Valle and Seraphil quickly got to each other's side where they saw Abaddon coming out with his suit somewhat damaged, while he shook off the dust. Looking at the two, Abaddon's eyes sparkled. Both individuals launched into another of Abaddon while Azazel and Sir Chest recomposed themselves where both look at each other and nod. Abaddon blocked and dodged every blow that they tried to give him, then a bad move by Valle. Abaddon took advantage of this and deflected an ice stab that hit Valle where it stuck right in his abdomen, making him spit some blood. The Levian demon opens her eyes, but receives a powerful uppercut to the chin, then ends up receiving a powerful right to the abdomen and a knee to the face. Crack! Seraphil's nose had been broken by that knee. Reacting in time, Abaddon managed to avoid a powerful blow from Michael where he was abandoned, kicking him right in the back. Crack! The sound of broken bones from the angel had been heard throughout the place where Abaddon, without wasting time and taking advantage of the angel's weakness, grabbed him by the hair and dealt him a powerful blow to the vertebral column, breaking it more than it already was. The angel's screams of pain had been heard throughout the place where Abaddon turns him around, and then makes a dagger appear and then stabs him in the abdomen. I told you I would send you to heaven in 5 minutes, said Abaddon, giving him a powerful uppercut, making the angel fall to the ground very injured. In that, Abaddon receives a powerful blow from behind by Sir Chest where Abaddon let out a moan of pain where he turned around, and right there Azazel appeared where with a powerless armor where he receives a powerful blow that sent him flying. At that, Naomi and Rias appeared right in the middle of Abaddon's flight where Rias with her fists charged with the power of destruction gave him a powerful blow, and Naomi, making several increases, charged a powerful dragon shot. Dragon shot! Naomi shouted, sending a powerful energy attack towards Abando. Boom! A powerful explosion arose in the place. Everyone looked expectant. No one moved or said anything. Why does he suddenly look so vulnerable? Naomi thought to herself. Up until now, she was dominating the fight, but after that, everything changed radically. When the smoke screen disappeared, everyone opened their eyes wide. In the place where Abaddon should have been, there was nothing but Valle himself with the armor completely destroyed. They're looking for someone, said a voice behind everyone. They quickly turned around, but both Sir Chest and Azazel Abaddon grabbed him by the face and slammed them against the ground, creating a huge crater. Well, it's time to start the second act, Abaddon said while adjusting his gloves. Naomi and Rias quickly put themselves on guard and launched themselves at Abando, who still had his hands in his pockets, and waited for the attack. When both were close enough to Abaddon, he disappeared, surprising both women, where then Abaddon appeared behind with a dagger, and then both splashed a lot of blood. Rias and Naomi fall to their knees. Comrade, be careful, he has a dragon slayer weapon, Drake had told Naomi while she opened her eyes wide and saw that she had a huge scar between her breasts. Naomi quickly managed to rejoin, as did Rias, where both looked at Abaddon, who still had the dagger in his hand. Amma and Sir Chest snuck back into guard. At that point, both Azazel and Sir Chest stood next to Amma and the girls. And what are you waiting for? Abaddon asked calmly. Quickly the first to jump were Sir Chest and Azazel, followed by the girls. Abaddon's eyes shone golden again. Azazel had created a spear of light, and Sir Chest had created a sword with his power of destruction. Clank! 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 The sound of weapons resounded throughout the place where Abaddon blocked with some difficulty the attack of both leaders. Boots, 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 boots. Naomi had increased enough possession to then touch Rias's back. Transfer. Rias had received a great increase in her power where her eyes began to glow crimson, releasing her aura a little, where beneath her the ground had begun to crack. Hawkeye! Rias had launched a powerful magical attack towards none other than the leaders of the Sir Chest and Azazel factions. Abaddon was about to get out of that mess, but both Sir Chest and Azazel had caught him and prevented him from flying away. Boom! A gigantic explosion had occurred throughout the place, where the Hyoudou along with the Citri group had managed to form an almost impenetrable barrier. After a few minutes everything had calmed down quite a bit. The large curtain of smoke was still present in the place. That attack did hurt, said a male voice through the smoke screen. Everyone opened their eyes wide when they recognized the voice. The smoke slowly began to dissipate. The first thing they saw was the body of Sir Chest and Azazel lying on the ground, all in blood, in the middle some black shoes. Little by little the figure began to show more and more. You could see that he had a great physique uncovered. One or another tattoo was noticeable. Little by little the smoke screen began to disperse where there they saw that brown hair, her hazel eyes with golden touches, her earrings, but what should have surprised them were the Hyoudou family plus Naomi and Rias. The one standing in the middle of the huge smoke screen was none other than Issei. Son/Issei, said the brown-haired boy's parents along with Naomi and Rias. No one. Chapter 1. Issei/son was what came out of the mouths of the brown-haired boy's parents, just like Naomi and Rias, still conscious. No one could believe what was happening. Issei's parents were totally in shock. They couldn't move. Naomi was just like her parents. She couldn't utter a word. She wanted to deny everything, thinking over and over again that he wasn't her brother, that he was the only one who did that, and that this was just a bad dream. Rias was just static. Her body didn't move. Her legs were shaking and her heart broke more and more seeing Issei standing there. The place was all quiet and silence reigned. No one moved a muscle or did anything. Sir Chest and Azazel were unconscious. Michael was too hurt to fight. Seraphil was healing his wounds. And Vala was watching all this, leaning against the tree. That boy over there is very dangerous. Vala, his power is almost on par with the Mao Lucifer. But his power seems familiar to me, Albion commented to his bearer, who was watching all this with frustration and anger. He could hardly move his legs due to the devastating attack of his rival. TSK, damn, I'm so tired, Vala thought angrily. Issei was standing. His gaze was calm and monotonous. He had his hands in his pockets. Well, everyone began to pay attention to Issei's words. I think I won't need this. He threw his mask to the ground. Naomi just looked at her brother, and questions came to her head as he knew of the supernatural how and why he is doing this. Issei, like you. Naomi wanted to say it, but the words wouldn't come out. How did I find out about the supernatural, sister? Issei finished his sentence. It was something easy, and I almost died because of a renegade demon, he commented calmly. And with that revelation, the Hyoudou opened their eyes in surprise. T.2 Naomi couldn't believe what she just heard right now. Issei, no Sastros, we just wanted to protect you from the supernatural, was the first thing that came out of Naomi's mouth, looking at her brother. It's really hard to protect someone. You'll end up losing more people than you can protect, the brunette replied. And there was a great truth in those words, and the Hyoudou had quickly understood it. Their desire to protect Issei, who in their mind was not born with magic or sacred gears, caused their carelessness. You say you want to protect me, but at what cost, huh? Issei asked, looking at his parents. When you all started to leave me aside, I began to feel alone, and the desperation that you see when you no longer had time began to eat away at me, and loneliness began to assail me, Issei mentioned while bringing his hands behind his back. So I decided to lower my grades. I began to disobey you and everything so that you would give me a little of your attention. And what did I receive in return? Issei commented as he looked at his parents. Only scolding and your disappointment. Issei finished the sentence. The brown-haired boy's parents lowered their gaze in shame. Mickey began to shed several tears and Goro clenched his fists. And you, Naomi, I hated you, and I hated you. Do you know how much I hated you when we were children and how much I wanted you to die? said Issei, looking at Naomi, who looked away. Issei sighed and spoke again. You know something, Cain used to be seen as evil, you know. Well, I mean, he can be seen as evil now, too. But if you just think about Cain, you can see that he did what he had to do in order to continue, I think. It would have been unbearable for him, the brown-haired man commented as everyone looked up. What I mean now is that surely, the supernatural beings see me as the bad guy in this story, because I only murdered people who were innocent? But aren't you all the same? Issei mentioned. Seraphim managed to hear as well as Michael, who could not move due to the pain, being followed by Naomi and the rest. First, let's go to the church. In ancient times, the church always killed people who were innocent. They even punished people, and they executed people who had other religions. And with what excuse did they do it? Everything was in the name of God. God was the only thing that healed and helped people. Issei said the biggest truth about the dark past of the church. Michael just clenched his fists. As much as fallen angels and demons are the same, they believe that humans are weak and stupid, and always the majority of their race violates and sows chaos in the world, said Issei, looking at Azazel and Sir Chest on the ground. Nobody said anything. Naomi just cried in silence and looked away. Sometimes good people make bad decisions. It doesn't mean they are bad people. It means they are human. Something that supernatural beings don't understand, said Issei without emotions in his voice. Naomi wanted to speak and tell her brother to stop all this, but she couldn't. She couldn't even move. Her body wasn't responding. Issei, I know we made a mistake in the past, but we want to fix it. Please, son, give us one more chance, and let's be a family again, Mickey said while looking at her son. Naomi and Gora looked at their wife/mother, who was the most hurt among them. My only family were the two who left, was Issei's response, leaving everyone speechless. Naomi looked at her brother. She didn't want to hear any more. She wanted to believe that he didn't say that. She hoped it was just a bad dream, and when they wake up they will all be at the table happy. But the reality was very cruel. Even though she tried to deny it, as well as her family, they were the same. Please, Issei, this time Rias spoke, and Issei looked at her. Trust me, stop this madness. You don't have to fight anymore, and I assure you that nothing will happen to you, she said, but she doubted that Issei would be free. His crimes were already more than known in the supernatural world. Never trust someone too much. Remember that the devil was once an angel, Issei responded dryly, while Rias just remained silent. Well, before I leave, I'll be honest, Naomi, tell me, do you remember those moments when you laughed innocently? Issei asked, looking at his sister. Naomi just stays silent. And I always remember that they were what drove me to be strong, to protect you, said Naomi, but in the end I only caused you misfortune, she finished her sentence. Sometimes, Naomi, there are times when you have to give up one thing to keep another, said Issei as he turned around and began to walk away. All this started because you were not aware of the knowledge of this world. Hyoudou family was the last thing Issei said before disappearing into the shadows. A week had already passed since Issei's attack, where in the supernatural world it was finally revealed who had attacked the Association of Magicians, and also the status of the faction leaders. Finally, the Alliance managed to get closer to where demons, angels and fallen wanted revenge against Hyoudou Issei for what they had done. Sir Chest along with Azazel and Michael ended up hospitalized in the emergency room, while Valia had disappeared from one day to the next. Nobody knew Vala's whereabouts. The Hyoudou were locked in their house, all depressed. Issei's mother was always crying while Tanya a photo of her whole family together. Naomi lost her fighting spirit, just like Rias and the others. Akino used her mask again, but now she was colder and more distant. Somewhere in the world, in a plaza, you could see Issei sitting. He was wearing a formal suit and was reading a book. So here you were, Issei, a male voice said. The brown-haired man closes the book and looks at the man who spoke to him. Alan, I see you're here, said the brown-haired man calmly. So, when do we start? Alan asked, looking at Issei. Right now, there is still the Hebron staff, the Seed of Eden, which are the most accessible. The others are in the vampire faction, and then the Greek faction. Issei commented as he stood up and began to walk with Alan. The greatness of a person is not determined by the hand they were dealt. It is determined by what they do with those cards and how they use them. Issei thought as he looked at the blue sky. Chapter 2. A huge storm was falling in the city of Berlin, Germany, where people could be seen running towards their homes. The streets were busy with moving cars and even several important people. But in a 5-star building you could see 2 people. One was sitting with a chessboard and the other was standing, looking from the building at the place. Without a doubt, this day seems like it will be special, don't you think, Issei? Asked a boy with white hair and light blue eyes who was wearing a formal suit. Because you say so, Karna, Issei asked, moving the king piece on the chessboard. The now known as Karna only turns around and then looks at Issei. Nothing in particular, just, I have a feeling something interesting is going to happen, don't you? Walking towards the table where he takes a tower and moves it. Issei now takes a bishop, and moves it where? Puts his left hand on the table and places his fist on his cheek to take the pawn piece and look at it. We already made our first move, Karna, now we just need to move our pieces correctly, Issei commented. Since I've known you, you've always been someone who weighs well in your movements and even, seeing the most horrible part of a human being, you don't stop, Karna commented. I know the horrible side of humans. That's why I expect nothing from others and I think nothing of their deaths. Issei replied calmly. Human nature is not easy to change, Karma commented. It's never easy to change something in a world where corruption is present, and even murderers are present, Issei said about the harsh reality of human life. But Karen raises an eyebrow and looks at Issei. Humans make mistakes, however. When those mistakes are corrected, people grow and learn from it, Issei mentioned. I see, the white-haired man commented. Now tell me something, Karna, have you heard anything about Chow Chow? Issei asked. Until now we haven't heard anything from him, Karna commented, and Issei looks at him. I see, it would be better to trust him. He would never do something stupid to risk Karna, and it would be better if you return to your home so that no one suspects, said Issei, and Karna nods. After that discussion, Karna disappeared in a magical circle to leave Issei alone, who takes a jacket and then goes outside the building. Walking through the city, he was receiving several glances from the group. Female, without taking it into account, he continued walking all over the place. But then someone stands next to him. You certainly catch the girl's attention, huh? He said with a hint of mockery. I can't help being so handsome. It's like a curse, Issei mentioned with amusement. Tell me something, Chow Chow, what's going on? Issei asked, sighing. Believe me, things started to get more hectic and Office is very distracted. Feeling curious about the Hakuryuku and your sister, said Chow Chow. Issei just looks at him, and then speaks. Interesting. And what about Ryzevin? I asked. He is still on the sidelines, but they are definitely looking for you to join their ranks, said Chow Chow. In that both of them have their steps. What are you doing now, Issei? Not only are you being followed by the factions, but now you are also being sought by the Cow Brigade. Chow Chow asked. The brown-haired man didn't respond. He was looking at the park, then he just sighed and looked up at the sky. I will kill them all. Everyone who gets in my way, Issei replied, while his eyes shone golden. Current Co-Academy. Naomi was now walking through the halls of the academy towards the infirmary, seeing the person her brother spent the most time with, to his annoyance and annoyance. Upon arriving at the infirmary, she knocked on the door where a pass was heard from the other side, where she entered inside, and right there she saw Chisato sitting with her legs crossed and was reading a book. Oh, good morning, is it you? Asked Chisato calmly. Chisato with a small smile looked at Issei's older sister, sure if she looked like her. She could even feel the power of the boosted gear. So the pillar of the factions, huh? Chisato thought. Nama just looked at Chisato. I'm Naomi Hyoudou, she introduced herself, while looking at Chisato. Go ahead, have a seat, Chisato said calmly, then brought Naomi a thermos that, when opened, gave off a tea smell. Naomi just nods where she sits in the chair and then accepts the cup of tea, which Chisato gave her. Thank you? Naomi thanked. You're welcome. Tell me, by chance, is this related to Issei, said Chisato, drinking her tea. Naomi just tenses up, but she maintains her posture. Yes, I am her sister, she said, something sad, under Chisato's gaze. Oh, Issei never mentioned having a sister. With how lonely he was, I thought he was an orphan, Chisato commented calmly and a little sadly. Naomi just lowers her gaze and squeezes her left hand where she had her yawn. Issei was always like this, Naomi said. Tell me how she knows my brother. Naomi whispers. She wanted to know about their relationship. Chisato didn't tense up at the question. She took a sip of her tea and then spoke. Well, let's say I was more like a mother figure. I was always there giving him advice, helping with his problems at school. I was one of the few people to give Issei total support. He's like a son to me, Chisato whispers happily. Naomi just got a little sad. I see, she said. Right now Chisato didn't know what to feel, whether it was sadness for what just happened or nothing. But I see you're feeling down. Why? If I may ask? Chisato asked. Naomi looked at the woman. She didn't seem like a bad person. There was no lie in her words when she mentioned Issei. He sighed as he recounted all. She told and changed much of the story that she lived when Issei finally revealed himself to the factions, where he lied in several parts. Chisato just listened to everything carefully, without even missing a bit of anything. Although she wasn't stupid, she realized that she was lying to her. After this, Naomi wanted to cry. She had to go to so much effort to protect her sister, even sacrificing their sibling relationship just to end up like this. Even if Drake said that everyone would be fine, it would be a complete lie. If only he had even one day to be with Issei when he was a child. Chisato sighed and stood up to search through the first aid kits. Well, Naomi-san, I'll give you some advice. Try to forget your brother and move on with your life. Maybe in the future you two can finally get along. I know Issei well enough. As much as he is someone calm and kind with people, deep down he keeps a little resentment inside. He is still young and he still has a long way to go before he matures. Just like you have a whole life ahead of you, commented Chisato, who was holding a small box. Also, Naomi-san, the way to seal a dispute goes beyond the concepts of victory or defeat, said Chisato as she sat in front of Naomi and looked at her. If you continue like this, you won't get anywhere. You must learn to live with your mistakes and never make them again, said Chisato with a motherly smile. Naomi just watched her, then saw how Chisato put a bandage on her wrist. Thank you, Heisawa-sensei, she thanked, while Chisato just shook his head. No problem, Naomi-san, she commented. Soon, when Naomi was about to leave, Chisato spoke for the last time. Remember, don't live waiting for that person, live for yourself. Only then will you get ahead, said Chisato. Naomi just smiled sadly, and then felt and finally left, leaving Chisato, who had a small smile. After that, Chisato opens the box he had in his hand, and there he sees a photo of her with Issei, both in a park holding hands. A small smile formed on his face as he remembered some words from Issei. I didn't have a logical reason to save you that time. Even though it was dangerous, I didn't want to see a good person like you die. I had some doubts, but in the end, I made a selfish choice guided by my emotions. But that's okay, I'm not a hero. She just sighed and put the photo away again. For me, you are my hero, Issei, she thought. Chapter 3. Where it all began. A beautiful morning had begun in the city of Ko, where several people were talking, others were walking, and some were accompanying their children. But in the forest outside the city, there was a clear spot where there was a group of boys about 14 years old. There were 3 boys in total. One was Issei and his 2 best and only friends, Brian and Joni. The only friends he had, and as much as he and they loved each other so much that they even considered themselves brothers. Their friendship was formed in a very strange and at times somewhat odd way, and it was because Issei had a problem after the championship where he fell into a depression. And when I was in Ko City Park, that's when I bumped into them, and from that day on, the 3 of them became very good friends. Since they were very young, they were always on the streets of the city. So much so that sometimes they even stole, but their thefts consisted of stealing apples, alfajors, and they always ran away from the sellers. The only and best friends Issei could have ever had, since none of them are left behind. Ah, what a day today, guys, Issei spoke, while sitting on a rock. Haha, today was definitely exciting, Johnny said. Yes, without a doubt, escaping from that dog was a real challenge. God, that's adrenaline, Brian spoke with amusement. At that, the friends start laughing playfully. And the reason is that they were chased by a dog, more specifically a pit bull. And needless to say, they had the biggest marathon of their lives. None of the 3 said anything and continued looking at the beautiful lake. Hey guys, I have something to tell you. The one who spoke was Johnny. Both Issei and Brian only set their sights on Johnny. You know, I always asked myself, what dreams do you have? I mean, we're almost there and we're going to enter the academy. And Issei doesn't know where he'll study, and Brian still doesn't know either, Johnny clarified. You're right, Johnny, but what dreams do you have? Brian said. You know, I was thinking about being a musician, with you guys since we're best friends, said Johnny. As much as Issei and Brian laughed amusedly. It would be fun to be a singer. What do you think, Issei? Asked Brian. What can I say? It would be incredible to be a famous singer. And with you we will be unstoppable, he told her. At that, Johnny just stands up and looks at his friends, where Issei and Brian also make a round, and then Johnny puts his closed fist where Issei and Brian also place their fists on top of each other. So it's official, right? Issei and Brian nods. Fine, we'll be famous musicians. We will have a lot of money. And I will be able to help my little brother so he can eat, Brian said. And I will be able to leave this stinking city with you, and I will have fun, and I will marry a Hexie model, Johnny said. Issei remained silent for a few moments, where both friends awaited his answers. Issei just looks at them and then smiles. Hell, what can I say? Someone has to watch their asses, and besides, he trailed off. I would never leave my friends, you are my little brothers. At that the brothers shouted happily, and then went back to talking to each other while laughing, and Issei had a smile. That same smile that he thought he had lost when he was a child. Right now the trio of friends was leaving a tattoo shop, where Johnny now had a tattoo on his neck of a crown and Brian had a tattoo of a league on his neck. While Issei had a tattoo of a skull on his calf, they all had one thing in common. They also had their band name tattooed, Bad Boy. Laughing at the name they gave the band, they decided to head off to the party, which would take place at night. Blood. It was the only thing Issei was watching. What was supposed to be a fun party ended up turning into a horrible massacre. Bodies of several children of the same age, all dead, dismembered and mutilated. Hey Issei, come on, run! A voice said while taking his hands. It was Brian, who was running with Issei, and next to him was Johnny. Both of them had a face of terror, while behind them there was a huge thing chasing them. Fear and despair were the feelings that the three were feeling. Their hearts were pumping very fast and their legs were shaking. Thinking they lost him, they stopped their steps. Brian taking some bats and then giving one to Johnny and Issei. The three of them looked at each other. They had no choice, they had to fight to survive. Well, looks like my dinner is ready, and I see you're armed, cuckoo, a voice said, and at that the friends stood guard where a huge thing fell in front of them, slowly getting up. They saw him right there. He had very long hair, but when his face was shown he had 4 eyes and sharp teeth, and instead of hands he had claws. The friends were nervous and their legs were shaking, but even so, "Ah!" was the cry of the three while. Right now Brian was being strangled by the monster woman, while Johnny was impaled in his abdomen, and Issei was bleeding from his head while he was against the wall. What a shame, really. I thought you could amuse me more, but I have to admit that you've earned my respect, so I'll kill you in the most painless way possible. At that point she began to strangle Brian's neck, who was having trouble breathing. Both Johnny and Issei managed to see this, with helplessness and fear, but Brian did something that left them in shock, extending his hands and pointing towards where Johnny and Issei were. Thank you for being my friends, and please take care of me, little brother. Crack! At that same instant, Brian died while the woman just threw the body to the ground and began walking towards Issei. The brunette was trembling, and then a glow passed through his eyes, and right there he saw a knife. Then the woman jumped towards him with the intention of killing him. But her head started to rub blood and then fall off where she had a dagger in her head. Issei quickly stood up and went for his friend Brian. Brian, hey friend, wake up, hey. Moving the body of his dead friend, he just started crying and then just looked at Johnny, who was pale. Johnny, wait. Running quickly and still with tears in his eyes, he quickly tried to get him out of the tube. Gumger. Johnny's grunts of pain were very obvious, but when Issei pulled him out of there, the wound itself began to bleed. Upset, Issei quickly looked for a cell phone to call someone, but a hand stopped her. ISS Issei, don't do it. Johnny's voice, the achievement to hear. Hey, you have to call an ambulance quickly. You're going to die. Idiot, Issei spoke desperately. Johnny just gave a slight smile as he began to cry. I'm impossible, my friend. They won't arrive in time. Johnny, please hold on. Issei was stopped, and Johnny just shook his head. Listen to me, Issei. I won't be able to go back home with my mother, Issei. I'm going to die, but you know something? I don't regret having met you or Brian. He giving a slight smile while crying. They were the best moments I spent with you and him. You're my best friend, Issei. You're not my brother, he spoke. Issei just cried silently, and Johnny was getting paler. I'm cold, very cold. Issei, friend, please take care of yourself. Yes, squeezing his grip tightly. He was just crying, please forgive me, Mom, for being a son obedient. I love you. At that point his hand fell to the ground, implying that his life was over. Issei was crying, as memories flooded his mind. From now on I make it official, we will be best friends. We will always be there through thick and thin. Issei, no brother. We'll make a rock band and be famous and have a lot of girls around us. We will always be your best friends. Idiot, besides you are our family even though we are not blood relatives. Guys. Moving Johnny and Brian's body. And with that last cry into the air, the chestnut tree cried inconsolably. Right now several families were crying. Among those families were Brian and Johnny's. Brian's little brother was crying inconsolably, as was his mother, who was on her knees. The rain was soaking everyone, while Issei just stood in the middle of there, crying silently. The older woman only saw Issei in the eyes, where she approached him and hugged him tightly. Issei returns the hug, and begins to cry as he vents. Present, Ko's City Cemetery. Issei placed 2 bouquets of flowers right on 2 graves, where the plaques on these said, Johnny and Brian. The chestnut tree just looks at the graves and crouches down. It's been a long time since the last time, making a slight smile. Boy, I really don't know if you're listening, but I regret not seeing you before. I had some inconvenience, but I fixed them. Issei just looked at both graves and then stood up and looked at them once more. Brian, your brother misses you, idiot. But you know, in the end he's studying in a very prestigious school, where he's doing very well, but he still misses talking to you. He even misses playing with his older brother, and above all he wants you to see him grow up. Issei mentioned, and Johnny, your mother, she's living happily, although it's only been 4 years. Whenever she talks to me, she asks me how I'm. If I eat well. Hey, you have a good mother. I envy you for that, you know, but she's still hurt, but she would be proud to have seen you grow and be a great musician. He just smiled, as a few small tears came out of his eyes. Turning around, he begins to walk away. Thank you, Issei. You are a great friend and brother, 2 voices said while touching Issei's back. The chestnut tree stopped and just looked at the sky. Arigato, guys, he said as he left. While in the graves there were 2 people, looking at Issei's back with a smile, and then he just disappeared, dropping a tear. Chapter 4. Tell me how it feels to be kneeling right now, in front of a being that you considered mere scum. In front of a chestnut tree covered in blood was a person, or rather several mutilated bodies, all dead. You are a bad bastard for attacking us who have done nothing to you. Spitting large amounts of blood from his mouth, he looked at him. For his part, the brown-haired man simply let out a heavy sigh and looked directly at the man beneath him, who was almost dying. Sometimes I think that you don't think. Instead of cooperating and dialoguing in a civilized manner, you attacked without even taking into account who you were facing. You didn't even hesitate. You attacked. What was the cost, huh? He asks while taking him by his hair and then lifting him up to look into their eyes. They are all the same. First the fists and then the response, or am I wrong? He looked at him for a few moments. His eyes changed color to gold. For a moment he was completely in a trance looking at those golden eyes. After a few minutes he let go, causing his head to hit the ground, where he managed to get him out of his trance. I already have what I need, thanks for the information, he said very calmly as he prepared to leave. Wait. What the hell did you do to me? This question made him stop in his tracks and then turn slightly to look at him. Tell me, what did you do to me? For what a pain. Your Kala, can you do the honors? After his question, the beautiful woman, without any mercy, beheaded the man. Well, it would be better to continue forward. We have to go. The small group began to follow him behind him, where after that they all leave the temple and begin to move away and then be teleported from the place, to appear on top of some mountains. Well, we've arrived at our next objective. Looking down at a small clan, full of people with families. Well, it's time. I want you to infiltrate and search everything and make sure that no member of the Himejima clan detects you. Is that clear? Hi! They all shouted and then they simply disappeared. While the brunette placed his hands behind his back near his waist and watched from above, he looked directly in a specific direction, at a beautiful woman with long, black hair and a ponytail, a great body, and a certain resemblance to Akino. It's been a while, old friend, I mentioned while looking at her from above. Meanwhile in Ko City, you could certainly notice several girls having their fun times, some with boys and their friends, while Naomi met none other than the school nurse, Hasegawa Chisato. Both were on lunch break. Naomi, after the talk she had, and knowing that Chisato knew her brother quite well, decided to spend time with her. Of course it was very difficult because of how everything was in the supernatural world, and especially the things that were happening. Many attacks in different places, and just over half of it was caused by his brother and his team. Even they didn't know what exactly he and his group of criminals were looking for. Right now we are in the infirmary of the Ko Academy, where both were in their free time making love together, as if they were very good friends. So how are things at the club, Naomi-san? Hasegawa Chisato asked, looking at the brunette. Naomi, for her part, left her food in her vento and then looked at it. Well, everything is very calm now, luckily, the girls are fine. Rias finally managed to return to the academy, after her incident. After Issei's revelation, Rias had fallen into a deep, painful depression. Not only had the person who rejected her broken her heart, but he was the one who attacked and eliminated all the magicians in the Magicians' Association. I see, he replied calmly. Well, I would like to continue talking with you for a longer time, but there is something I must do, Naomi-san, he would say with a small smile, standing up. Okay, Hasegawa-sensei. I'll see you later, Naomi would say as she stood up and said goodbye to Chisato. As Naomi walked toward the occult club, calmly and without any problems. I still say that woman has a bad feeling, Drake would say in the brunette's mind. Drake? Why do you say that? It was a few days after Naomi had the talk with Hasegawa Chisato. Drake had told her about that woman. She wasn't at all normal. But she could never figure out what she was because she tried searching for her aura. But she never found anything. In fact, Hasegawa Chisato was a completely mysterious woman. Leaving those thoughts aside, she had arrived at the occult club. She would enter, and there she would see Rias sitting at her desk, along with all her pieces, beside her. She was Grafia. I see you're feeling better now, Rias, he would say with a smile. Looking at the redhead, who also smiled and nodded. Good. Why? Did you call me to the club? Well, Grafia would say it. She looked at the silver-haired girl. Grafia would lead the group. Well, I have a message from Sir Chess-sama for Naomi-san as well as the rest of his peerage. This would draw everyone's attention, and it is that we found a possible whereabouts of Issei-san. An awkward silence took over the whole place. There was a guy in a bar with black hair and gray eyes who was setting up the place. He looked to be in his 20s. This was Tobio Accused, and he was one of Grigori's best soldiers. In his mind he still remembers that battle against Avedon. Why? Tobio would ask, who was all hurt, and in front of him was Avedon, who was calm. Why? Are you doing all this that you will earn by doing this? He would ask again. Avedon would let out a sigh and then look at Tobio. Tell me something, accused Tobio. What do you think of the world? What's the point of that question? It's something. I'm curious to know what you think about this world. How do you see it? Avedon would ask. Do you know how I see it? How? Tobio would ask, looking at him. I see a world. A dark world that was contaminated by the same supernatural beings and we humans ourselves, Avedon would say. While Tobio would look at him in doubt. How did we end up like this? They run us over, body and mind. They steal our freedom. We end up losing ourselves. Tobio would look at Avedon. Knowing how we would end, no one would go to the battlefield. What do you mean by that? I would ask. I understand. But there's always something that pushes you to set foot in this hell. Most of the time it's not by your own will. Tobio suddenly has a vague memory. Your environment forces you to do it. But the hell of those who push themselves is destiny. They see what lies beyond that hell. It may be hope, or it may be a new hell. It's only those who continue to advance that discover it. Avedon said, then looked at Tobio. Now tell me, Tobio, what are you doing? To continue advancing in this hell? Tobio would look at his left and right hand. What motivates me to keep moving forward? He asked himself. Cap 5. Silence reigned in the small temple where two people were. One was a beautiful woman with long black hair and red eyes and had a great resemblance to Akino. The other was a teenager with brown hair and brown eyes surrounded all over his body with several tattoos around him. How much longer are you going to be silent? The teenager asked calmly. Sasuke, you've known me since we were children, and we know very well that I would never hurt you. Sorry if you can't believe it, said Sasaki with his arms crossed, but after what you're doing in the world, all this is very doubtful. I understand, Issei nodded, understanding what she wanted to tell him, although I'm glad you find several changes in the clan. Issei looked around. I had to make changes. We no longer need to be locked up with our old beliefs. Or well, not all of them, Sasuke answered seriously. The Himejima clan, one of the most important clans in the supernatural world, and they faithfully serve the Shinto gods, but especially Amaterasu. Issei narrowed his eyes. In addition to being a clan completely full of murderers. Sasuke didn't answer him, and her gaze hardened completely. Come on, I know you know what I mean. A small smile appeared on his lips. Why don't we talk about Shuri Himejima and Akino Himejima, the disgrace of this clan? Issei made quotation marks with his fingers. So you know that too? Sasuke narrowed her eyes. That's right. I know everything that really happened in this clan, how your father and the rest of the Himejima clan members waited for Betrayal to leave, and then attacked them both and killed her. Issei slightly tilted his head to the side, but you let her go. Why? Sasuke didn't respond immediately. She simply tried to keep her thoughts in order from that night. Around 10 years ago, Akino Himejima was born, a hybrid fallen angel and human, to Aunt Shuri Himejima and one of Grigori Betrayal's cadres. Akino's birth was a sacrilege in the Himejima clan. Even worse, it was caused by the daughter of one of the leaders of the Himejima clan. The father himself killed his own daughter with his own hands and then tried to kill his granddaughter. What's wrong? Did the mouse get your tongue? Issei smiled amused. To see how Sasuke looks at him coldly, it's none of my business, but why her? He was my cousin, and I don't care if the clan hates me for everything I did in the past. Sasuke would take a breath, and then I would take him back without hesitation, and you know that. Yes, I know, he nodded as he settled on the floor. But have you done anything with the members of your family's council? No, I haven't been able to make much progress. But whether you like it or not, things have to change in the Himejima clan. Sasuke would let out a sigh. I doubt very much that this is of interest to you. Indeed it is. Issei nodded. Your clan is of interest to me, since it has something precious that I am looking for. Weapons blessed by God. Sasuke narrowed her eyes. What do you want them for anyway? I doubt they're good for anything? That's where you're wrong, Sasuke. God's blessings are very powerful and are capable of saving the world. Issei stood up and looked at Sasuke. But I know your clan has a hidden one. Hey, don't you think it's taking too long? Said a man wearing a black kimono, but he didn't even receive any response. OT, what the? After that cry of surprise, he saw how his companion's head ended up separating from his own, causing a large amount of blood to start splashing everywhere. The moment he tried to scream for help or warn someone nearby, his head exploded. Fufu, that was entertaining to watch. A male voice spoke with total amusement as he walked towards the entrance. How did you find out? Sasuke asked coldly as she also stood up. Say, you thought I would be so stupid as to not realize it, right? Issei narrowed his eyes. I know your clan has many interesting things and toys that can be very useful for war, but did you hear that? If we were to go and get that quickly, we're sure they're not going anywhere. Behind the two guards appeared Chow Chow, who was wearing a mask covering his face, in addition to having the true Longimus on his shoulder. Who are you, damn it? One of the guards said seriously as he stood on guard. I am simply Chow Chow would take his spear with both hands, your brilliant friend and neighbor murdered. The tension in the air was felt in the room where Sasuke and Issei were. Both were looking at each other seriously, while a bird appeared on Sasuke's shoulder. Are we really going to have to do this? Issei looked bored at the bird on Sasuke's shoulder. I don't care about your plans. In fact, I wouldn't want to fight you either, but taking a deep sigh, I have to stop you myself in this place. I understand. Issei extended his left hand and a circle with several strange pentagrams began to form. It's a shame that this ends like this, but there's no turning back. With that said, Issei took what looked like the handle of some kind of invincible weapon, and then as if it were a sword he unsheathed it, and looked at Sasuke, who was already waiting for the chestnut's movement. Sasuke did not hesitate for a second and attacked with a powerful fire magic attack in order to easily finish off and defeat the brown-haired boy, who upon seeing the attack simply let out a sigh. Pathetic. His eyes flashed gold, and then everything around him turned gray. For Issei, who standing looked at the fire magic attack approaching him, he lowered his right hand where he had the invincible sword and began to walk around the fire without suffering any damage, to stop right in front of Sasuke, and with his hand he brought it to the Himejima's chin. I'm sorry about this, but bringing the edge of his sword towards Sasuke's abdomen, I don't want to have to deal with any more problems later. And with that said, he stabbed Sasuke without any remorse. Time returned to its normal course while the fire magic attack crashed against the wall. Sasuke's eyes opened when she felt that something had pierced her abdomen. She looked down and saw only Issei's fist, while a strange wind energy was surrounding his sword. She spat out blood and looked back up with a smile on her face and brought her hand to her left cheek. Babaka, she mentioned with a smile, and then simply approached his lips to give him a direct kiss. Issei didn't even hesitate and didn't care at all about the blood that came out of Sasuke's lips and reciprocated the kiss. And then she finally fell to the ground unconscious. He didn't say a word. He stood up. Let's finish what we're thinking about, Alan. Okay. Several loud bangs began to be heard outside the temple while the screams of people began to sound around the place. Issei looked once more at Sasuke Himejima's body lying on the ground and then walked towards the exit of the temple. A great one was the Himejima clan, while many of the clan members, if not the majority, were fighting against large amounts of renegade demons and several elves who did not hesitate for a second to kill anyone who stood in front of them. "Come on, seriously, that's all you can do to me," said a completely calm man with a big, ruthless smile on his face. While in one of his hands he had a member of the Hyoudou clan trapped in the palm of his hand. "Come on, keep trying to fight, it would be more fun that way." With a smile that showed all his fangs, the man did not hesitate any longer, and squeezed the head of the man he had as a ring. He did not need any magic since at the moment of crushing and seeing how his head exploded with large amounts of blood. "How disappointing," the man said boredly. "I think this mission will be much easier." "You better not get too confident," Chow spoke from behind him. "We don't have to waste any more time. It's time to leave this place. They've already found everything they need for the peace." "It's okay. Anyway, there wasn't any fort in this place," the man said calmly. "Try not to involve us all in your whims. You know how he is when he gets angry." And with that last warning, Chow would be the first to leave that place, leaving the man completely alone, who was surrounded by several members of the Hyoudou family. "Joe, I see there's still more war going on there." Cracking his knuckles, "Entertain me." "Odin-sama, we have problems," a male voice shouted as he entered a large, gigantic room where there was a throne in the middle of the room. What's happening now?" asked Odin with some interest. "The biblical factions formed an alliance of factions, and sir, we have several reports from Hyoudou-sama that there is a large group of terrorists all gathered in Midgar," the soldier informed firmly. Odin began to run his hands through his beard while his one good eye looked at the guard. "I want you to call me sons, Thor and Loki," Odin said, looking at the guard who quickly stood up and began to leave. "I know you're there right now. Come out, Ophis." Out of nowhere appeared a gothic-looking lowly girl who was staring at the father of all. "Odin, what brings you to my domain?" Odin asked calmly. "I just want to stop by," was Ophis's simple and short reply as she looked at the Norse god. "Can I ask you a question?" Odin asked, looking at Ophis, who simply nodded. "What are you trying to gain from all this?" Ophis tilted her head slightly to one side. Nothing, I just want to recover my silence." Ophis did not show her emotions at any time. "Odin? Because you are so weak." "Joe, well, I'm not surprised that you've noticed." Odin put a smile on his face. "In fact, you're not wrong. If I'm getting weaker as the years go by." Ophis approached Odin. "Don't you want one of my snakes?" "I don't need them, Ophis," Odin denied. "It's just time I started sleeping to recover all my strength." Odin sighed. "Huh!" It came out of his lips when he realized that Ophis was no longer in that place. He shook his head and simply settled on his throne and looked at the ceiling. "Father, didn't you send for someone?" Odin looked down at the person who had spoken to him, and upon entering he saw a red-haired man about 35 years old, tall, carrying a gigantic hammer on his shoulder. "And your brother Loki?" "Thor?" Odin asked the man known as Thor. "I haven't seen him, father. After the rumors that the biblical factions that Loki has been acting suspiciously." Thor would look as Odin narrowed his eyes. "Is something happening? Tell me something, Thor." Odin would sigh. "You know about the rumors that a terrorist group is forming in the shadows?" "No, I just found out about this," Thor stated. "What's going on?" "Thor, I want you to watch all the warriors before Thor can ask anything else. Calm down, just try to prepare for a possible war."
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.